Yo, man, what is up? Oh, hope it still goes sideways. Trying to get everything. I'm really late on this. Man, I had a long day at work, but um, today we are supposed to talk about rarities, just people's own definitions of what rare cards are. So hopefully it's a good one. On this one, I said people could come in, but same rules. I try not to have more than like 4 or 5 people at a time. Done that before where we had like 10. It's just too many people talking over each other or trying to get the spotlight. That's what meant to get the spotlight, but get their point across. What's up, Hitman 23? Cheers. What's up, TT Watt? So yeah, I'm expecting to start off with John Mangini. What's up, Kerry? With John Mangini and Ray from Chile. So that'll be how we're gonna start off. I got this idea from watching Blue Jacket 66. He was making a video talking about rare cards and what really is rare. I guess he kind of got a little hot. What's up, everyone? What's up, Four Leaf? Because I guess he was just listening, watching another channel talking about rare cards or calling a certain card rare. He's like, that's not rare. And they just had a different definition of rare. And so hopefully we could get that across because I think everybody does. So hopefully we get those points across. So why some people consider this rare, what their definition is. But we got one person coming on. What's up, Ray?
Yo, yo, yo.
What is up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How's California?
Hot. It's like 102 degrees on my house right now, man. Super hot.
It's raining here.
Yeah, we just had rain. So we're at that certain point right now where like in the summer when we have consecutive 100-degree days, like my house is really hot.
Right.
But we just had rain last week and it's been cool and then it just got hot all of a sudden. So my house is still kind of cool without having to run the AC.
That's cool.
Hey guys.
John.
Hey, could you give me 1 minute?
We give you 2 minutes.
All right. My daughter took my she took my phone holder and a piece of the rubber fell off that's holding my phone, so it's not staying in place. I gotta find it.
Hey, what's up, JP Wisco, all the way from Japan?
Oh no, she lost it. How am I gonna hold my phone?
Fran? That's not bad at all.
Damn it.
You don't have a little stand?
You lost a little rubber from the bottom. Won't hold my phone.
Do you have a holder? What do you have, Ray? What do you use?
I'm using a laptop.
Oh, so you're on a desk?
Yeah.
There's a little rubber piece that sits in there that holds the phone. Let me see. It keeps popping out. Well, it was there when you took it. Oh my God.
It's snowing, Dustin? It's snowing over Minneapolis right now? Wow. Do you guys have opening day? You guys have opening day this weekend in Minnesota? Like the Dodgers, I know they're away.
I didn't know you were going live yet, Pepino. I'm scrambling around over here.
Yeah, today's a good day for me. My whole family's at Disneyland, so kind of have the house.
Nice.
I got it.
What's up, Rafael? When they planned this trip to Disneyland, a couple months ago, my Dodgers schedule, they were supposed to be at home, and I was supposed to work Dodgers today. But then with all this change now, they're not here.
So what's up, Ray? It's been a while.
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Cool.
Planning on a trip to Philly. I want to come see you and Sean Tiford and Reese.
Yeah, man, definitely. Next
I think
Philly
I might
show.
come up to the Philly show in September. There's somebody
Cool.
else that wants that I think will meet me over there.
Yeah. Well, we'll see each other before then at the National too.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's a pretty good show, huh? The Philly show. I always hear about it
Yeah.
since the beginning of my YouTube days.
Yeah. It's the oldest show ever. It started in 75.
Is that right? I
Yeah.
did not know that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm from Pittsburgh, and there's a lot of great shows. There's always, it's a big sports city like Philly.
Yeah.
So I miss it moving south. I don't get any shows down here. That Dallas show would be nice to go to at some point. That's like a mini national now.
Yeah, it's getting huge for sure.
Yeah. That's sweet. How baseball collectors having that little giveaway contest.
Yeah, who won that? I saw there was a
Um,
live late at night. I was falling asleep. I didn't watch it.
I think someone named Braves Collector.
Oh, okay. Well, congrats to whoever won. It's a nice little prize there.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah, it
Go out
is.
to Dallas, Texas. Yeah. Hang out at
Yeah.
the show.
So, Pepino, you ready to get into this?
Yes. Let's get into this. So, Ray, I haven't talked to Ray personally about this, but I'm sure John Mangini's filled you in on it. But yeah, I don't know if you also saw that Blue Jacket 66 video.
Yeah.
He kind of got into it with another guy talking about what rare is, because this guy's definition of rare was more, I guess, how would you say it? It was more leaning towards pop reports.
Pop report, right.
And I think Dave, the way he sees it, is the card itself.
Right.
Right. So it's just different point of view. So it's like I wanted to try to have a couple guys who just see different points of views. What do you consider rare?
Well, I mean, it varies really. Rare to me is I kind of agree with Dave on that it really isn't pop report because you don't know really what's out there. There could be more of those cars out there that aren't graded. So that's number one. And I do think it's more so cards that just haven't been produced a lot, and it's not so much the mainstream Tops, Donners, Bowman, whatever that came out in the 50s was Bowman and Tops. I think it definitely leans more towards a pre-war card, tobacco cards, cards that really weren't mass produced, like regional food and distribution cards especially were very rare because they were only distributed in certain areas of the country. So I don't really look at rare. I mean, rare to the modern collector today is just looking at, they're using the word rare and what they think is because there's not too many of those cards graded. When I look at the production of the card, not so much how many cards were graded, and the production of that card, even though there could be only 200 of these particular cards graded, there's more of them out there that were produced. So I kind of look at how the card was produced from the beginning. And if the card wasn't produced much in the beginning, that's a rare card. Not so much that, there's only 250 produced, but how many were made at the beginning? There was a lot more. Like I think Dave was using the Burke Ross card as an example. It's somewhat rare, but it's not that rare. So Dave was right. Dave was stating that, just because there might only be a certain amount of cards graded for this, there was more made for that card. So you can get them. Cards that really weren't made a lot, especially regional, forget it. They're tough to find. Talk about low pop report. They're really low. I look at how the card was manufactured in the beginning.
Well, see, this is like Joe Spice 99. He's saying like to him, rare is a card that's 1 in 1,000 packs. See, but if you make a million packs, how many is that 1 in 1,000?
Right.
Yeah. When you start getting mathematically involved.
Right.
But if you're searching for that card and you're trying to get it through packs and you never get it, it just seems like it's not out there. right?
Yeah, and I think what Dave was saying is that they're trying to manufacture rarity today, like by just saying, "Hey, we have one of 20." They're you can't really you can technically manufacture a rare card today, but is it really rare? I mean, I look at cards that were produced in the 19 teens and 20s and 30s that were really low manufactured wise, and they're just not a lot of them out there. I mean, you can't really make something rare when you're making it rare, like on purpose. You're trying to make it on
There's
a
no
rare
story
card,
behind it.
right?
Wasn't
There's
they weren't thrown in the river. They weren't, no,
right,
this the player himself didn't say, "Hey, I don't want you making my cards," and
like
and stuff.
like the Lucky Seven find, or the swamp collection. Those are those are pretty rare cards, so you can't.
Not anymore.
Yeah, suppose.
That's
And
one of
and,
the
and
that. Oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
and the condition they were in is just phenomenal.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Well, they weren't circulated.
Yeah. So even though those cards were considered rare just in any condition, like now you could. This is like the modern collector. Well, a card in that condition is rare. Yeah, but
right.
is the card itself rare?
Yeah, but how mad are you if you were the guy that bought the Ty Cobb or the Hannes Wagner, the highest graded one, right before they released the Black Swamp Find,
Right.
and now they flooded. There's a lot of them now, no longer rare.
Yeah, it's just like I when John told me that when we had our phone conversation, and I told him, yeah, it's almost the same thing as the guy who bought the Tom Brady's last touchdown ball,
Yeah.
and then he comes out of retirement.
Right.
You know,
That's a good
So-
example.
So I agree with what Dave said, and you too, Ray. As far as there's a lot of collectors out there with raw cards, and there's way more than you think. You
Mhm.
take somebody like me who's been collecting vintage since my childhood, and if I just sent all my non-graded cards in for grading, it would cost me like $1 million. So guess what? I'm not giving $1 million to PSA.
Right.
So I have a lot, and believe me, there are a lot of guys like me.
Yeah.
So
there
those
is.
pop reports are not that accurate. As far
Yeah.
as that Burke Ross, I'm sure I could go on eBay right now and find 10 of them.
Yeah.
That's not a rare card, right?
Right.
But there's different types of rarity. So you have the old cards that they didn't make that many to begin with, or they weren't kept, so they're organically rare.
Right.
And you have the really, really super rare ones that were maybe coupons where you had to turn them in to get a prize, or a sporting good or something like that, or some of those ice cream cards. That's why they're rare, because you had to turn the card in.
Right.
And so a lot of them were turned in and they became organically rare.
Right.
Then you have the manufactured rarity today. Like maybe there's 100,000 of this one card, but the blue version, there's only 10 or
Mhm.
something like that, right? And then you have the grading rarity, where there might be 10,000 of this card, but there's only 10 graded at 9, and 2 graded at 10. And so now the newer collectors that are super into PSA, that's what they consider rare, and that's why they're looking at the pop reports, where people like us, we're looking at the card itself.
Right.
Like, do I care if I have a T206 Honus Wagner and a 10? Hell no, I don't care.
Mhm. Mhm.
In
No.
fact, a lot of those cards, they didn't come out of the packs 10s or 9s or 8s or 7s. And to me, I like my vintage cards to have been circulated, number one. I have a card from the Black Swamp Find. I have the 3-fingered brown. I wanted to own a card from that particular collection. It's exciting. However, I like cards that were circulated because I like to know that, they came from somebody's collection, which is one of the reasons that I collect stamp backs if I could find them and bring them together. That's a fun thing for me to do. So those are my thoughts on it initially.
we're getting a couple comments, and this is something that Diamond Princess, she commented on my video yesterday, and Peeps is on her side, also has the same opinion. Well, you say there's 20,000 of a certain card, but there's 20 million people who want that card. They consider that rare because of how many people who want it can obtain it. See, but that's what I'm saying. There's a difference in opinions of what rare is.
Hmm.
You know, are
Well, I
are
mean,
you
let's
talking
look up
about
the
a card?
let's look up the definition. I'm not sure 10,000 of anything could be considered rare.
Right.
I mean, you could, and there's a difference between scarce and rare. Rare
Yeah,
is you might go 3 years and never see one. To me, that's rare. Like I have cards that PSA's never graded, not even a single copy. That's rare.
yeah. See,
Right.
but I think that's kind of why I wanted to make this video, like talk about like there's a difference between us old school collectors and the new modern collectors. They just have a totally different definition. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? That's
There,
that's really what they say is
And
like,
and a graded like if it's rare, if it's a rare grade, then okay, it's a rare grade. It's not a rare card.
right.
yeah, I
It's
consider
rare
that
to
a
find
rare
it in that
PS.
condition.
I consider that a rare PSA, but not a rare card, right?
They're
Right.
getting the words. They're getting the word rare and pop
But I say
together.
it all the time.
And
We're starting to collect slabs instead of
right.
cards, and they even have people who will grade your graded cards, right? I
Right.
mean,
Right. That's
Yeah, you
a
do.
good example is, say, for a modern collector, the Derek Jeter rookie. Well, there's only 10 graded at 10, but there's thousands of Derek Jeter cards out there.
yeah.
So you could still own that same card. Granted, it won't be a 10, but you could still have an incredibly good chance of buying that card. Just because there's only 10 of them graded at 10, it is not rare. It's just a low pop
Yeah.
in
But
that
Yeah,
one
case.
of the
it's just that
one
PWCC happened to send those 10 in.
one of those things with those Derek Jeter rookies, the his most famous rookie, the I've seen so many people throughout my YouTube history, open packs and pull out one fresh out of the pack, and a lot of them come back as say they're trimmed or they don't meet the size standard.
Right.
Fresh out the pack, fresh out
Oh
the pack.
yeah. Well, that
It
can
has that
happen.
problem. That
Right.
upper deck has that problem where they don't meet the size requirement. Fresh out
Well,
of the pack.
vintage cards. I mean, they didn't have these phenomenal printing, facilities that they do now. And yeah, you would. I know when I would open them up, sometimes you'd find them with a blank back. Sometimes they'd be drastically miscut. You'd have half of somebody else's card on, and half of another card, right? I mean, you'd find them right out of the pack. They were in, not such great condition.
Right.
Absolutely.
The 82 Tops Cal Ripken, the 3-panel rookie card, is extremely well known for minimum size requirement. I got so many cards that I submitted for that card, and it came back minimum size requirement, and I took them right out of the pack.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I did not know that about that
The
card.
82 Tops Ripken, not his traded, his regular Tops
Yeah.
rookie.
See,
Very well known for that coming back minimum size requirement.
But
What-
I mean, but if the cards came from Tops that way, I mean, is it up to PSA to say that card sucks?
Right.
Like that's the way it came. That's the way Tops made
it
it.
didn't meet its requirement. It was trimmed. Yeah,
It didn't
trimmed
meet
by Topps.
PSA's requirement. It obviously met Tops and us collectors' requirement.
Right.
Well, see, that's one of the things with rare. A good example, like we can discuss this, is what the newer collectors consider the Cal Ripken real rookie was his minor league card.
Right.
Like on a certain minor league game day, they gave out one to the fans. But this is the minor leagues. He's not the greatest player that at the Cal Ripken that we know now. He's not the Iron Horse. Not many people kept that card. It's a perfect example. Like say at Dodger Stadium when they give free baseball cards away. Like I remember specifically on the day that they gave away Adrian Gonzalez cards. On my way out, walking to the parking lot, they were thrown all over the place. They were all over the floor. They were all over the parking lot. It's like how many people actually took this home and took care of it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Only the collectors, the average fan, whatever,
Yeah.
And that's kind of the story with the Cal Ripken. And a lot of people want to consider that his rookie, but it's a minor league card. He wasn't in the majors, so it's not a rookie. But that card is considered his rarest card, because how many actually survived?
Yeah. That's true.
Well, the funny thing is there's probably not a single grader employed at PSA that has opened those packs up. I put together both the Tops and the O-Pee-Chee set. I'm very familiar with those cards. I know the way they feel, the way they smell.
Well, that is a trip. Like how many people they had to hire? They hire like 1,000 graders. Like What were these guys doing, a
They
year
were
ago?
bagging
Well,
groceries a year ago.
it's my understanding that they specifically want people who know nothing about cards.
Yeah, it's just producing, getting it out the door right now because
So
they're so
I don't know
backwards.
how they teach them grading standards, but
See, but I remember somebody, man, this was a while ago. This was like before the boom even. This was like 3 years ago. Somebody made a video crunching the numbers of how many people work there and they work 8 hours a day and this and that and how many cards go in there. They're like, on average, each card could only gets graded, gets looked over for about a minute and a half if you do the math.
Yeah.
Like how many cards gets in, how many people are working 8 hours, and how many gets in. I was like, each card only gets graded in a minute and a half. They got to grade, pump them out.
well, you saw those cards I posted recently. There was a Bob Gibson rookie graded a 4 that was missing a corner. There was a top 71 moments, Ernie Banks. Now that card doesn't have an S. The S is missing on those cards for whatever reason. It didn't print.
Mhm.
This was a 6, and some kid had written in S, like a handwritten, and they gave it a 6. It's like, come on. I mean, and then if you get a card like that, you could never send it in for a regrade because it'll never get that grade again.
Nope. No,
But that Bob Gibson was missing a corner, and they graded it a 4. Literally missing a corner. I mean, go to my channel and check it out. Missing a corner.
Yeah, it's crazy today to try and with the young modern collectors, just because the card is graded, a lot low pop and it's rare. They really are mixing up the definition word of rare and pop. That's the bottom line. A low pop is not a rare card. Bottom line.
It's not a rare card. It's a rare grade.
It's a
I
rare
think there's a
grade.
difference.
It's a rare card
that's what
graded.
Because like
that's
somebody
what I'm
like
trying
me,
to
I
say.
want to own a nice example of the card.
Right.
I don't care about the grade. I really don't.
What can you tell us about? I know you're familiar with the Venezuelan cards. Like, how were they produced? How were they distributed?
I believe they were distributed in packs, just like at Tops. But in Venezuela, it was common for the kids to put them into albums, glue them into albums, and they were not taken care of. There were no top loaders or anything like that. So you find one above a 2, that's an exceptional grade for a Venezuelan.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the reasons I love to collect them. It's because it's like when you were a kid, and I think, to me personally, it's like we put too much emphasis on grade. When you have the difference between an 8 and a 9 might be $100,000, you're getting a little fanatical, man.
Yeah.
Like what are you trying to do? You trying to show you have big Kionis or big Kumazikyam? What are you trying to show off?
Right.
Are you trying to flex? Because why would you spend $50,000 or $100,000 more when you can have a card that you can't tell the difference?
It's the same.
You can't
card.
tell the difference because PSA, the right person submitted it to PSA and got a grade higher or whatever.
Right.
Like, I don't know. Do I look at that card? Do I look at my 9s and 8s and I go, oh, this 8 sucks, and this 9, man, I have to sleep with it. It's so wonderful. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I say the same exact thing.
Because let me tell you something. All these people that send those cards in, especially the new ones, they're looking for 10s. And if they don't get a 10, they crack it out. So if you could tell the difference, why'd you even send it in? If you send it in and got an 8, well, you obviously can't tell the difference, or you wouldn't have sent it in.
Right.
Because you're going to crack it out of there anyway and resubmit or, whatever.
Well, see,
because, if it's a 10, it's going to sell for way more. A modern card in an 8, you're not going to get any money for.
Right. Well, that's the difference between the collecting today and collecting of before, whereas to me, it's about ownership of the card. I gave an example about a year ago of someone who has a Nolan Ryan rookie and they have it in an 8 and I have it in a 4. And I said, guess what? It's the same card. I have the same card you have. You have it in an 8. Yeah, okay, it's technically worth more money, but it's the same card. And it doesn't matter. It's all about ownership of the card, just having the card. I don't care about the aesthetic value of it. If I have no problem getting 1s, especially with vintage cards. I don't care.
Well, think about how many more cards. Think about how many more cards you can buy. You spend I don't know, $20,000 on a 9. and you could have 100 other great cards.
Yeah, in mid grades or something. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
But I buy all my cards based on looks, and I have routinely chosen cards that are lower graded
Yep.
because I'll see a 7, it's off center, it looks like crap, and
Mhm.
the 4 I have blows it out the water. Just
Yeah.
because some dude at PSA gave it, a higher grade doesn't mean it's a nicer card.
Right.
But that's why they go by the what do you call it, VCP or whatever.
And to you guys, like say on a slab, to me especially on a slab, does the back of the card matter? You know what I mean? Because like to me, if a card is graded like a 3, but the front looks bitchin' and you flip it around and it has paper loss in the back, like I don't care about the back, really.
No, especially for a vintage card, I can care
Yeah.
less. I was looking at a Stan Musial rookie, and the front was beautiful and a PSA 1, and I'm like, why is this a 1? It looks like it would be a 3, 3.5. I turned it around, and it wasn't paper loss, but there was paper on it that they had it stuck to something. So when they peel off the paper, and I'm like, guess what? I could care less. This is a beautiful freaking card. It's a Musial rookie. The front, yeah, I don't care about the back. I really, when it comes to vintage cards, I can care less about the back.
Well,
Yeah,
with
I
me-
care about the back to some degree. It depends. Like if I have a T206 Honus Wagner with some paper loss on the back,
Yeah.
no problem, man.
No, that card
You
could
know?
be ripped in half and taped back together. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I'd take it. That's one of the few cards I don't collect authentics unless, like, very rarely. Like in the 1800s, I will.
Mhm.
But I don't really care to collect A's. I'd rather have them raw than
Right.
than a big A on it.
Right. I agree. I would rather have it raw.
It's
See,
just
So-
like it ruins the card, especially. I don't know. Do they give it A if like you're saying it came out of the pack, minimum size not met,
Mhm.
or do they slab that an A, or do they not slab it at all?
They don't slab it at all.
Yeah, why not?
they don't want to take the chance that it's been miscut.
Mhm.
I always wanted to have, well, even if it's miscut, it's authentic.
Yeah, but or I mean trim. They don't want to take a chance that
Even if
been,
it's trimmed, it's authentic. Isn't that
Right?
Isn't
That's
that
what I
what
said.
gets an A?
Well, see, it's the same thing. When I got a 57 Roberto Clemente, and I say this all the time. It looks great. It's centered awesome. It looks really great. And I got it for like $20 because the lady says she sent it into PSA and it came back that it had a coating on it, that someone sprayed it with the coating.
Mhm.
And I was like, so they won't grade it because of that? They're like, no, it's altered. Well, yeah, but it's real. They know it's real. You know what I mean? Why can't they
Yeah.
grade it authentic? They won't do it because it's been tampered with.
Which is funny because when they got caught, what was that one scandal where they were altering the card and gave it a grade, and they came out defending it, saying it was like art, right? Where people will touch up art, and I made the comment to them that it's not like art because they only have one Picasso painting in existence. Baseball cards, there's lots of them. Right. So it's not like art. I get the premise, but it's not equal because you can go get 1,000 other of those cards.
I know what you're talking about. They came out with this story about 3 years ago where people were, if there was wax stains on the card and they were using something to take it off, and is that altered?
I'll tell you what. When I was young, it was a little secret we used to use, and you'd go get your mom's pantyhose.
Stockings, yeah, I know.
And you would rub it, and it wouldn't damage the card, and that gum would come right off.
That's exactly right. My LCS owner has a stocking in the back of his counter.
Yep.
And he'll go through cards when he's putting sets together and rubs the stocking right on there. It takes it right off. Is that altered? I don't know. Looks good.
I still remember the first time I asked my mom for her pantyhose and the look I got.
Well,
Yeah,
did you know, like if you wear pantyhose when you run, you won't get blisters on your feet?
That's true.
Well, I suppose it keeps you warm. Didn't Joe Namath wear pantyhose under his
Joe
uniform?
Namath did. Yeah,
He was sponsored by pantyhose.
He started the whole compression look.
Yeah, right. He was way ahead of his time.
Well, to get with your with me, like one of my first Mickey Mantles I bought, and I remember when I bought it, and it was super cheap, and I loved the reason that it was super cheap because when I started watching YouTube and back in the days, there was a lot more vintage collectors and a lot more people telling you about about vintage. And, I learned how back in the days, people kept a lot of cards in scrapbooks where and they taped them, the corners, you know. So one of my first, a lot of people ask me, like when people ask me, what is your favorite Mickey Mantle in your collection? It's like, I have two reasons why my 56, I brought it out right now, why my 56 is my favorite. First of all, my 56, it was one of my favorite cards that I wanted as a kid because I used to see it in price guides all the time. They would show the 56. So I was like, I want that card. I want that card all my life. I wanted it. And then when I seen one in person and the condition of it, I was like, oh, that's the video I was talking about because it has this paper loss in the corners. It's hard to do it on this. In the corners. And I was like, oh, this is because they taped it to a scrapbook. And when they took the tape off, it has the paper loss on the corners. So to me, that added to the value of the card. But to most people, it devalues it. I was like, I'll take it for cheap. But that's why it's like one of my favorite cards, even though it has that paper loss. Like, oh, I know why that paper loss is there,
It's a difference between being a collector and chasing that bank, right? Like I mentioned stamp backs earlier, which is a little niche in the community where you try to find the old stamps and reunite some kid's collection. But because it has a stamp, it's immediately going to be a 1.5, right?
Yep.
But the rest of the card might be beautiful, and having those stamps might be more valuable. But if you're just, driving around in your Tesla and trying to flip cards, and you need that high grade, it's just gotten kind of insane out of whack.
Yeah.
I've for the life of me, I couldn't understand when I got back into the hobby why people were sending brand new cards in to get graded, like right out of the pack. These things are in perfect condition unless you damage them.
That's one of the things why I say I buy doubles of vintage cards and I don't have a problem. And that's the thing with vintage and modern is if I were to just go pick up, just say Mickey Mantle's last card, 1069 Mickey Mantles. And I go pick up right now 10 Acuna rookies. Those 10 Acuna rookies are all going to look exactly the same.
Yep.
Those 1069 Mickey Mantles are all going to have a different story and look different.
You hit on something very interesting because when I'm shopping for a card, I will shop for a long time till I find that one that speaks to me, that one that has that specific eye appeal. And sometimes it's even an off-center one. And you're exactly right. Like you take the 69 Mickey Mantle. If you go on and you look for one right now, none of them are centered equally. They're all over the place. And you hit on something very interesting there that I never really thought about. But that's so true with vintage. And there's something for everyone, whatever your taste is,
Yeah. I remember one time Elite Hunters called me and we were talking on the phone. And I was telling them about a baseball card that I had. I go, I bought this card because it looked like it had a belt buckle mark on it. And I said, to me, I imagined that little Johnny knew he was going to get whipped and he put a bunch of baseball cards in his back pocket and his dad stacked them with it and he imprinted the belt buckle on the card. I go, I just think it's the coolest thing. I go, how else did it get there?
Well, you're hitting on what I said earlier is that I like my cards to have been circulated.
Right.
Like some of these cards, they just stayed at Tops. Like you take the 1977 Reggie Jackson that they had in the Orioles hat. Well, it was never circulated. It made like 3 of them. They never circulated those cards. Sometimes they're cool to have, but I don't know. That just adds to the allure of me. But that's the difference between somebody who, like I said, is a collector of the cards and the history, and you want to kind of think of who enjoyed that card and give it a good home.
Right.
Like in the 90s, if you get a numbered card and say it's numbered out of 10, but it says XXX out of 10, they say that those cards were giving like to the people, the executives that work at the company before they, to get their approval. And so you would think like, oh, if these were just given out to the board of directors at the directors, you would think they're rare, but then you look them up and you can find so many of them. I was like, well, how many damn directors were at this table? You know what I mean? Because there's a bunch of them. They're not that rare.
Yeah. And in the early 2000s, they would, and I used to find this so stupid. They would have the exact same card, but one would have a little number, 10 out of 25, and it would be gold. But the rest of the card was identical to the other 10,000 they made.
Right.
But the only difference was the number in gold. You know what I mean? The number itself, which is very misleading, because you're saying that this one's 10 out of 25, but it looks identical to all these other 10,000, except you stamp these.
Right.
And why would you pay up for that? I remember I sold a card for $650 back in early 2000s, because I had two of them and one had that stamp and they were identical. So I sold.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I'm not, me personally, like, if you chase numbered cards and that's your thing and you're doing rainbows, I think that's cool. I really think that's cool. But it's never been my cup of tea, because something that made me jaded to that idea was in my old Dodger group before I got on YouTube, and I was in a Dodger group on Facebook, and we got Adrian Gonzalez. I remember that first year, and there was a year when he started off, we hit like 11 home runs like in 10 games, and they're like, oh, if he keeps this pace up, he's going to hit 1,000 home runs. Okay, he's not going to keep this pace up, But everybody started showing off a certain Adrian Gonzalez number card. And somebody put up like a card number to 50. Somebody put up a card number to 25, and then out of 10. And then someone had the 101. But they all looked exactly the same.
Those are the ones
I was like, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Those are the ones I find stupid. However, I do chase those, I collect those, but I like them to be different in some major way.
Right.
Like you're saying, that's just a stamp. It's like, it's misleading. Because I got a Natalie Golbis 1 of 1. And I'm on eBay and I see another signature card that looks just like mine, and it's a 1 of 1. I'm like, how can they both be 1s of 1? Like, that is misleading. That's almost scam. You're scamming somebody right there. Because what they did was they took a cut and they slapped it 1 of 1, and then they took another cut, signature that looked identical and slapped that 1 of 1.
Right.
But if you look at them next to each other, they look identical. But if there's something different, like there's a blue, Target exclusive or Walmart exclusive that's really tough to find, 1 out of every 1,000 packs or something like that. If it's different or a different version, I like the variations, right? Like you have the Ohtani batting that's rare, but the throwing is the normal one, something like that. But the ones that are absolutely identical except for the number, I just find them stupid.
Yeah,
I will not pay up for those.
And then
I get mad when I bought one thinking it was truly a 1 of 25, and then I find out that it's the exact same card. I mean, it made me mad.
Like, there's reasons why people get jaded. That, like, to me, that experience to me made me not chase numbered cards or collect rainbows. But sometimes I do get jealous when I see other people do rainbows. Like, oh, that's pretty cool. Man, but there are some rainbows that have like 100 cards. It's like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And like with me, like why I don't do grading. One of the reasons I don't do grading, and my LCS at Frankensons, every once in a while PSA's there. And we had a signing with Yasiel Puig. This was a long time ago. Well, Yasiel Puig was there signing for like $20 or whatever it was back then. And so a bunch of us from my Facebook group, Dodger fans, we were there all at the same time. And I didn't pay for Yasiel Puig's autograph because I could get it for free if I wanted to. But they got in line. They got his autograph. They went straight to the PSA table. And PSA rejected it. So, oh, no, this is unauthentic. It's like, what? I just came from there. I just got it. And I was like, oh, this is bull, right? So,
that would be a very frustrating situation. I have lots of signatures I got as a kid in person, or I knew somebody, and if they didn't grade out, like, they're hard to sell if they're not graded authentic or whatever. But they are. You watch them sign it.
Right.
That would be very frustrating.
But this guy is playing, autograph god, telling you, nope, that's not real. You just did that yourself. It's like, oh, we just, he's got video.
I'm going to tell you something right now. There is absolutely no way you can guarantee a signature unless you saw somebody sign it.
Well, That's the thing.
Absolutely.
Like, say,
or maybe if it's a check or something, that's why I understand
yeah,
people to collect checks,
but
because those are
say,
most.
but say when somebody goes to court and they have an autograph, I mean, a handwriting expert, they go through stuff that this person has written, letters and high
Oh,
school.
I
They go,
understand. I've
but
studied
this one
handwriting
guy is
analysis.
just like with no research.
Mhm.
Listen, I understand, but there have been people that have forged documents and forged signatures over the years, and they scammed every expert on the planet. I mean, there are
Well,
people that have forged documents from the 1700s, and museums are buying them, and they
right.
matched up. Some
I-
people are talented. Oh
There's
my
and
God,
the
Dave!
thing with hey Dave, the
Hey
thing
guys.
with serial number cards too that I've been noticing, if say there's 25 cards numbered out there, they're now putting different values on what numbered card it is, if it's the first one or if
Yeah.
it's the 25th one, or if it's the number of the player. Say the player wears number
The
20
number of
or
the
something.
player, yeah, that
Like,
tends to carry a
wait a
premium.
minute, I thought it was a rare card because there's only
eBay.
25 of them.
It's the eBay 101.
Yeah,
How can-
yeah, it's an
eBay
eBay 1 of 1, right?
How can number
It's a
one
1
be
of
worth
1.
more
It's
than
the
number
only
20?
number 1.
How can number one be worth more than number 25?
Some of these things you see on eBay are you just have to shake your
I
head.
shake my head. I'm like, dude, there's only 25, right? I thought they're all rare.
I think we
So-
need to turn this over to Dave. He started this.
Yeah.
Well, I just got a little bit of time, but I was listening and wanted to jump in I decided to jump in when you started talking about looking at the card of vintage and pre-war cards. I'll admit, when I look at mid 50s cards and food and beverage cards from the 50s and 60s, I'll have to admit that I'm trying to get a little higher grade in those areas. But I think the perfect example is the Robert Edwards auctions open today. And so that's now online. I don't know if you get catalogs, but all you have to do is ask and they'll send you catalogs. But, they are the premier pre-war auction house, in my opinion. I mean, Heritage is very good too, but just looking through that is strictly drool.
Mhm.
And at no time did I look at a grade. The only time I look at a grade is if a card I'm interested in and I saw that it was a moderately high grade, I knew I was immediately out. But that was the only purpose for looking at grades. And I think what's sad, I don't think it's healthy about today's hobbyists and investors, is I don't think it's healthy that you seek perfection. And that you dismiss anything that's not perfection. I think that you really don't have a love of the hobby or a love of the card
Right.
if something has to be perfect. For the most part, there is no such thing as perfection. And if you have grading companies trying to grade the hardest, what does that mean? I look at baseball cards, but who looks at baseball cards under 30 magnification to decide whether or not that card's a 10? It's absolute insanity. And I think that the money that is in those cards I think that it's going to end poorly for a lot of people. And I'm not trying to be an old man with sour grapes, because I'll admit I collect older cards and I'm from an older area, but I do understand people paying large amounts of money and loving today's players and loving PSA or SGC or CGC 10s with these players. But I think the money does not make sense. And it's going to come back to burn people, because when I was growing up, and Fred Lynn and Dale Murphy and Jim Rice, they were the freaking studs. You guys want their cards now? Their rookie cards are pretty good. But what about their second, third, or fourth year cards? You never even heard of those guys. And those guys were better than 90% of what players today will ever be.
Absolutely.
And that's a fact.
Absolutely.
And I just want
Absolutely.
people to stay in the hobby and enjoy the hobby. And I think even if modern collectors would delve a little bit into the earlier stuff, they'd get more fun and satisfaction. I cannot imagine being a collector who you worried about whether your guy hit 5 threes in the next game or whether they're batting, 285 or 320, and that makes you nervous about your collection. That's no fun. It's just that's not the heart of the hobby that's going to be sustained. The heart of the hobby is the core, us guys in the comet head, and you'll see these guys in the tail. They'll be flying off as the years go by.
Yeah, it's
I complain about grading a lot, and that you just hit on why I do, because in many ways they've changed the hobby to where everybody has to have a 10 and it's all about the money, right?
Yeah. And I'm not
yeah.
to say that I'm not cut up on I admit that my 60s and 50s Manals, I know I want them there. And so I'm not going to be a hypocrite with that. So I do understand, but it is disconcerting that today's players, that if you get an 8, it's a trash. That makes
Right.
no sense at all. That's worrisome.
Right.
Yeah,
Because
we were
they're
talking
taking-
about that
reality,
earlier.
nothing is perfect.
If they're taking the collecting out
you know
of
what
it.
your grading companies becoming so strict that it's absurd. It's already somewhat absurd. I certainly can't tell 10s from 9s, modern or vintage.
I tell you, I have some cards that are like one's, you know, clearly sharper, like would grade higher than the other one, but the other one is the one that I really love. There's just something about the look of certain cards that are just appealing to you.
Has character.
You know, it's like that maybe not so cute puppy that you just you love the way it looks.
Right.
I agree, and I that's why your old Black Swamp find E98 cards, those do not appeal to me in the least. They look like they were printed yesterday. You have one, don't you, John?
I do, and I actually question. It's so sharp. I actually question if it was printed yesterday. I don't. That could be.
Yeah.
That could be a scam
No,
for all I know.
But
But that
there's
doesn't appeal to me. But a T206 or those early candy cards, it has some character and rounding to them. Luckily, they fall into my strike zone as far as price. I mean, sometimes they do, but they just look. They got character, and they make you feel all warm and fuzzy.
I have to be honest with you. I like my lower graded ones than that one. To be honest, I just wanted to own a card from that collection.
There's something about
find.
the ink. There's something about that vintage ink, like in the 58s or the T206. I mean, they're still pretty bright. They're so bright still, you know, for something that was printed so long ago.
Yeah. I think today
that's
is
one thing
different.
I heard you guys talking about, and there was a great point. Is essentially all modern cards look the same, where all vintage cards differ in somewhere, and not just cornerware, but you know, whether it's some fish eyes here or there, or whether it's snow on the card, or how bright the registration is, and you know, luckily I think that the printing processes were obviously cruder, and so you get a great diversity of images on these cards, whereas today they're all perfect and
and shiny.
Yeah, like in the 74 and 75 sets, those are notorious for those little circle marks that might be down on the.
Like they're like
is that what you call them?
Yeah,
but
they're like
you know,
specs.
you'll see a card that's an 8 and it'll have that, or a 9 and it'll have that, and it might take away from the look of it even. And I'd rather have one that doesn't have it.
Yeah, I have
those sometimes are in a
rookie that's a PSA 8 that up there where it's in that blue circle where it says Reds. There's this fisheye there, and I can't take my eye off that damn thing.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way.
It is, but
some little thing like that will bother me because for me it's the image number one over corners.
Yeah, and one of the things that I was discussing with John, you know, as far as Rarity goes, sometimes, or pop reports, is that they never remove a card when it gets cracked out of its slab. You know?
Oh yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
right.
It stays in its circuit. It stays in its population report. That's what I'm trying to say. That today it's not collecting, it's investing. Today it's all about the grade. It's all about what the value is. When it comes to vintage, it's about ownership. It's about having the card. And not
now when I first
agree, and especially those pre-war cards and some of the 50s cards that people say what's rare for grade, that's nonsense. I mean, it's great if you got a high grade, Seaver rookie, and you're right, there are not nearly as many of those, but that's not what rarity's like. You might as well get a Trout rookie in a PSA 1 and call it ultra rare because there's only 2 on the pop report.
You have a good point there.
That makes no sense.
That's a good point.
That makes no sense. I understand that in early cards that the higher grade are more valuable, certainly, but let's just talk about the card rather than the grade. Everybody says buy the card, not the holder, but I'll say only thing people want to talk about is the holder. Whether
Mhm.
they like the flip, whether it's PSA, whether it's SGC, what the grade is, it's moving around in it. That's all they want to talk about.
And
So
that's the other thing. They're looking at the label today. Well, I'd rather have it in the new label, the new Lighthouse label. I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's just, if PSA,
Yeah,
PSA is grading it different today. If they graded that same card today, they would grade it different. And I'm
that's
like,
the new
whatever.
thing. That's a new thing I'm hearing so much. Oh, it's an old label. I don't want that one. That's when you know you're buying the slab and not the card.
Totally the slab. It's totally
and I'd rather have it in an older slab. It's like a vintage slab to me.
I think the older slab's more nostalgic if you want to go that.
Now, were the older
font.
slabs, were they regional issues?
Yeah, no. But
No,
I think even some of I think weren't the grading companies, PG, whatever, the coin grading companies, they came out before the card grading companies, didn't they? And I think some of those holders on those early coins, those early graded holders, are actually thought to be more valuable, I think, because they thought that perhaps that those were graded differently and they'd grade higher now. But I don't know. I don't know why I got on that big thing on rarity, but I think that there is a big difference. Not that there's not rare cards in modern cards, because there are, but it irritated me a little bit to call a card that has a population of 300 rare. I think if you talk to the big boys or listen to the big boys talk, these big boy pre-war collectors, if they're more than 10, they that's not rare at all to them.
No.
They're talking about cards that there's only one or two known.
But that's just one of the things, is that most of the new influencers are new to the hobby, right? So, and you have so many new people in the hobby that they're just taking these people's words as facts. I was telling John, I was watching an influencer. He was making a video, and he was at a certain card place, and he was talking to the owner. And he asked the owner, can I see your PC? What do you have in your PC? He's like, oh, I only have 9 cards in my PC. And the influencer was like, see, that's what I'm talking about. There's no way. He's like, I don't believe you can have more than 40 cards and enjoy more than 40 cards. I think 40 cards is the max.
Right.
He's like, nobody looks through. If you have 100 cards, you don't look at those 100 cards. You only look at a couple. And I was like, what?
I guess if you've only been collecting 6 months or what, that makes
right,
sense.
exactly. Or you're just selling them and never actually enjoying your cards. You're just the middleman, touching them and going through. But I was like, you saying that it's impossible for anybody to enjoy more than 40 cards in their PC. You never look at them. I was like, that just blew me away.
Someone made a good
Well,
point.
I mean, everybody has,
right now. Someone made a JGA 59. He says, one thing I don't understand is when people are displaying their slab cards and it's a horizontal card and they'll display it vertical because it's a slab.
I've never understood that either.
If the card's a horizontal card, you're not really seeing the card if you're showing it vertical. You're just displaying the slab, which is a good point.
Absolutely. Great point. And what drives me crazy is when they'll put they put the top, the slab at the top of on the right side of the card for a bunch of them, but then that one they slabbed it upside down and it's on the bottom, and then when you're going through them, you have to flip it over.
Well, that was a huge thing. I remember that was a huge thing when the Tops 2020 came out. When the Tops 2020 came out, since everybody knew there was going to be 20 cards of every card, people were selling frames. When it first came out, people were making custom frames where it had 20 slots for your cards, and they were all a certain direction. Right. And then they would come out with the horizontal one. It's like, oh, you just ruined it. It's like, oh, now I can't display it right. It's gonna ruin my frame that I just bought for $300.
Well, let me tell you something, and we're falling into this. This is a perfect example. If people will buy it, people will sell it, right? Like if you go on to late night TV and watch these commercials, you can get your hair back, you can get your prostate and fixed up, you can lose weight in 30 days without working out, like you can grow your hair back.
Which channel?
All these claims, right? And they make millions of dollars.
Show me where that's
selling this crap. It doesn't work. I mean, how about the one where they have the laser hat? It's a light hat, lights under the hat to grow your hair back.
Well, what we do
And that's
have
where
to do
we're at in the
is give credit to these
card
new
world right now.
people. I think we should give credit where it's due. That I think more people are entering the hobby, and that's I think that's really good.
Yep.
The question is it quality, and are these people going to be satisfied with the hobby? That's the most important thing. It's not are you entering the hobby. It's kind of like jobs reports. You may gain a bunch of jobs, but they may not be quality jobs.
Right.
But we gain a lot of people in the hobby. But the question is, are we gaining people that are interested in promoting the hobby and truly interested in the cards and collecting and are going to stay? Are we talking? Are we getting people that think that they're going to make a buck until things turn south, or are going to lose interest because someone that has a bad experience in the hobby, they're never going to get back? I mean, I think all of us probably left the hobby at some point, but we left on good terms because we had to go to college, or we had got wives, or we had a busy job, or whatever. We didn't leave because we got burned because some guy told us that this,
Right.
LeBron was going to go sky high, and it went the dumpster because he's going to be acting like a turd one day. So if we keep good collectors and quality, and they're on good terms, you'll keep them. But I don't know if we're setting influences for people to be happy and enjoy the hobby and succeed. I think if you're carrying around a briefcase and you're worried about making money, you're not going to be happy in the hobby, to be honest with you. I know Pepino, man, I'm very proud of him, and he is happy in the hobby. And he loves his cards. He doesn't care about grading, doesn't necessarily care about condition, but he enjoys the hobby. And why you're not like a pre-war type collector is beyond me. I think that'd be perfect for you. Perfect for
That's
you.
all it is.
To be honest with you. But those are the type of collectors that will forward the hobby. There's a lot of old farts in the hobby, but guess what? They love the hobby. I mean, I know they're old guys sitting around at the National with cheeseburgers on their lap and aren't making good eye contact, but they've also been in the hobby since 1971. And the question is your 17-year-old who's carrying around, John Morant cards, is he going to be in the hobby when he's 70? And we need those people.
Yeah.
And there's not going to be 100% retention. So what can we do to keep these hobby people? So I think I'm going to be making a pretty video pretty soon that will stir things up a little bit and hopefully get some.
See, that's just the difference between old collectors and like the new people, the new people coming in. I was watching, I watch YouTube all the time, and it's pretty much all baseball content, card content. I was watching this flipper guy, and his video was called "I Love the Story of a Card," and I clicked on it, but he's all the story of a card. He's a breaker breaks it, and then that guy gets it. That guy sends it to PSA, and then he flips it, and then that guy he reholsters it, and then it finally gets in the hand of a collector. He's this card went from being bought at retail price, being sold at this much, getting slabbed, and then selling for this much. And then at the end it ends up in the collector's hand. I was like, yeah, but that collector overpaid. You know what I mean? Because of all these middlemen, 10 middlemen. To me, a good story is like, I have this card. Hey, you need it? Hey, here you go. That's a great story.
I think that's one reason. I think that is one reason where we'll just call them speculators or investors may have a hard time making it into vintage, and especially pre-war, because generally those collectors are relatively seasoned and are not going to buy into these rapid turnaround things and these rapid price escalations. It's just not going to happen, especially with pre-war. It's just not going to happen. There's not that many cards, so they can't, you can't. There's not so many of them out there where there's so much visualization of it, and everybody at once is trying to turn these cards, and it's just not going to happen. I don't think.
But don't you find that like bad for the hobby? I know there are a lot of people that have stopped buying. I don't know if they left the hobby, but we're priced out. Most of us are priced out of so many cards that were, attainable just a few years ago.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. So everything jumped so much. I mean, cards have came back down, but they're still a little bit higher than they were 2 years ago.
They're a lot higher.
John, you made a point a couple times where I mean, I kind of like graded cards. I mean, I've been collecting nothing but graded recently, but I do kind of miss the days of raw when you hold a raw card in your hand and you smell it. And you've talked about that a few times, and it's just something different about holding
Yeah,
the
well, Ray,
card
I
actually in
would
your.
venture to say most people don't know what these old cards feel like.
They don't.
They don't know if they're thin or, I was touching a card the other day and I was like, wow, I forgot what a real card feels like. It's been
Yeah.
so long since I touched a raw vintage card.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the new cards aren't even cardboard anymore, right?
I don't even know what they are now. I mean,
Yeah, because say you look even in the 80s, you look at like when I have all these boxes, my sets in these boxes. When you open it up, the cards, the sides of the cards, it looks exactly like cardboard. It looks like exactly like the
Yeah.
inside of cardboard.
right.
The newer cards, they're all white. When you look at them, you know how they're white. It doesn't
Yeah.
look like cardboard anymore. It's not the same material.
Yeah.
Yeah. The old cardboard,
just
and
think,
like it has a smell to it too. It has that distinct smell that
Absolutely.
you know, it's one of the ways you could tell it's real is, the smell of a card.
That
Dave,
is
Dave, did you have?
that is my earliest memory of opening up cards. Probably really the 70 top supers and the 70 football as well, is opening that pack in that rush of gum smell and card smell and the dust kind of flying up. I mean, that I remember that more than anything else.
I miss those days.
And,
yeah, as soon as you open that up, that
gum
smell would
meant
hit
something at that time too. I mean,
Hey,
that
Dave.
gum wasn't a throwaway. I wanted the gum too.
you. Yeah. Dave, did you ever have? Did you ever smell 1950 Drakes?
Drake's cookies or
Yeah.
Drake's cakes or
Cakes,
I had
yeah.
a complete set of those. I had a registry set of those. But to be honest with you, and I had some raw ones too. But I can't really recall anything about it. Did they smell like?
They have a very distinctive smell. You could smell the cake still on them.
No, I haven't.
I can
Yeah,
imagine
you
with
ever-
the.
Did they come in cakes?
When Lou was over
Yeah.
here, that's one of the first things I had him do was smell the Drakes. I'm like, you smell that?
I can't remember where Drake's
You
cakes
can't fake
were,
that.
They were like a regional, like a regional hostess type thing, and they had certain Drake stars and certain products that they put them in, just like Johnston cookies did. And
I can imagine what Stolmeyers smell like.
Oh God!
right.
Thank God they're in
Do
slabs.
any tobacco cards still smell like tobacco?
I've never smelled tobacco on a card.
I only have a few, but I don't. But see, this is what I'm talking about. Is like when you have your old cardboard cards, the cardboard looks like the cardboard, And then when you have your newer cards, they're white. They look like the outside of the box instead of the inside.
Yeah.
So it's just I love the old cardboard. Compared to the
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the reason I'll speak out here and there is because I feel like us collectors are getting, in some ways taken advantage of. Like we're being preyed upon with this new market. Everybody wants to come in and take our money. They want to, whether it's grading or somebody grading our graded cards or somebody giving us some fancy protector for the graded cards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And somebody has
there's
to
an
stand
angle
up
for
for the
everything.
collectors.
I mean,
like we can't just sit back and keep throwing money at all these guys. Whoever starts some new business.
I'm not paying for any apps that tell me the card price trends. I mean, I can look that up myself. Thank you. And I don't need a holder for my holders. But so there's a lot. People are trying to make money at every angle, and that's fine. I don't have any problem because I don't have to buy into that. But.
Right. How about the NFTs of people pack ripping? that didn't go so well.
That's not for me, and I can't see it from any angle as being. I can't go along. It's just not for me.
What we were saying in the beginning, though, is that the future of this hobby to continue is going to be with the young kids, right? So, but what I'm afraid of is that how the young kids are looking at the hobby today are totally not the same way as how we looked at it.
Well, how can they even collect?
Who in 1976 had a Farrah Fawcett poster on their wall besides me? I know Mangini probably did. My point is, You want that Farrah Fawcett poster on your wall, or you want an NFT of it on your cell phone?
But
I just showed that poster.
They're just looking at it. It's like it's all flash and bells and whistles today. That's trying to draw the young kid in. We were collecting the cards because, number one, we liked the sport because we were fans of those particular players, and we were trading with our friends. It wasn't about, well, yeah, but now you have to draw the kids in today with different parallels and different colors and making it and presenting it to them that it's valuable. And it's been that way even in the 90s, I mean, that's why the boom happened in the 90s, was because they were trying to promote value rather than collect the hobby for fun. It was like trying to get people in to go crazy over buying these cards because they were valuable. And that's the problem, I think, with how they're approaching kids, 15 and under today is.
Yeah. One of the things.
But Ray, how are kids supposed to afford these cards? Like when we were growing up, you didn't need a lot of money to collect cards.
John, that's
the whole thing. They were a quarter.
It's like, I don't understand that at the National. Every time we had a little party at these bars, right outside the bars in the hallways,
whacking out money.
There was kids selling cards. But see, that's norm. Look at me. Picker Jim S. We were walking through Picker Jim S. Saw this kid selling a Ted Williams card. And he asked, how much for that Ted Williams? He's like, I don't know. Let me look it up. And he's like, you don't know how much it's worth? He's like, I didn't even know who Ted Williams is. Is he good?
God.
Yeah, but like, get back.
It was so shocking. He's like, how do you have this card? How do you have this card and not know anything about it or who the person is?
Well, let's be honest. We know how they got their cards. Their parents bought them the box and bought them the cards. Let's be honest.
Right.
No 12-year-olds walking around selling $7,000 cards. Their dads and moms are getting enjoyment out of, instead of buying Jimmy a horse, they're buying him these cards. That's a fact. I mean,
That's right. But what about
the
kids that don't have money? Like they can't participate in this hobby. Caesar, when you were a little kid, I mean, could you spend this kind of stuff? I couldn't.
No,
I wouldn't have a card collection. I've told the story many times.
I've told the story many times. Is that my lunch? I was on the lunch program, and my lunch was 25 cents. I never ate lunch all junior high and high school. My parents gave me a quarter that I could take that quarter and get her lunch at school. Instead, every day I saved those 50 cents. 87, 86 cards are 45 cents a pack. So I could buy a pack every 2 days. And then every so often, that extra 5 cents, I could buy 2 packs in one day, every third week or second week. That's what it took for me to buy cards,
Yeah, but I would go down to the flea market with maybe $7 in my pocket, and I had to decide, between if I was gonna get the Sandy Koufax or the Bill Mazeroski or whatever. Couldn't have them both.
Yeah. It wasn't
until you could do that back then.
It wasn't really till I turned 16 and I was able to get I got a job at a liquor store where I used to buy my baseball cards. A guy gave me a job, got a work permit, and that's when I seriously started buying cards, where I actually had $20, $40 to buy stuff, But before that, when you're a kid, it's like I had 25 cents a day and I had to sacrifice eating, to buy my cards.
Yeah, I mean, if I was little at this time, I mean, getting a box of cards is like, it might as well be a Ferrari to some of these kids. They can't afford either one.
Well, see, that's the thing. Just to buy a pack, I'm talking about packs for 45 cents. You know what I mean? Now packs are $10.
I remember in '89 when Upper Deck came out. That was like 99 cents for a pack of cards. You got to be kidding me.
So you kept your shoebox cards, and that's what kept you in the hobby. And the question is, are the young collectors now going to have their collections, or are they just turning it over? That's what I don't understand. I hope if they're somehow young collectors, and I'm talking about young collectors in their 30s or 40s, new collectors, I should say. I just hope that they're accumulating a collection too. Otherwise, they're not hobbyists, and there's not going to be any retention there. No one's going to spend their whole life flipping cards to make money. I mean, you're kind of in and out of that.
One of my fondest memories that I have is a sound when it comes to collecting is a sound that I have. Because like a lot of other kids, I too kept my cards in shoe boxes or any kind of box, that I had. And if I found somebody else through my Little League team or some baseball program that also collected cards and I had to ride my bike to his house, I would have my cards, my baseball card box, shoe box, whatever, on my leg. And when I'm pedaling, you just hear the cards, vroom, vroom, vroom. You know, they would just jump in that thing, vroom. And I had that sound distinctively in my head. You know, it's like,
well,
that's how my cars got, rounded corners.
At least they weren't in your bike spokes.
Yeah. Hey, I gotta get off of here, but thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining.
All right,
Thanks, Dave. Take care, Dave.
Talk to you guys later.
All right.
Peace. All right. Well, Dave joined us. All right.
Yeah, that was a pleasant surprise.
Hey, is there anybody else that man, I feel bad because I'm reading all the comments, but they're coming back and we're talking. So I wish I could.
Well, let's
I wish
see
I
some
could
of them.
address them all. Goody G saying he gave out cards at a Giants game. Oh, Oddball Vintage, Oddball Rick said, you call everything rare, John.
Yep. Rick and I.
Why doesn't he get on here? Where are you, Rick? Get on here.
Rick and I text all day long. Rick, I don't know. I don't think. I think he's retired. He has a lot of time on his hands. Look at all these rare beauties. All these raw beauties. I meant raw.
Raw.
They're not on the PSA Pop Report.
Yeah.
So I mean, what sets, John? What sets do you know of that are just rare? Period.
Well, let's see, the plows. There was just hey, what's up?
What up?
You at work?
Yeah. Let me get this camera right.
Oh, you're upside down. Oh, there you go.
There we go.
There were
I figured I'd jump in.
You got the 33 Warch cigar. That's a rare set.
Yeah.
The Bagger chocolate. Pretty rare set.
See,
You got
I
the
love
Plow
hearing about.
Boys.
I love hearing about sets that I never even heard of before. It's like, where was this? I remember when I was younger, I would buy these baseball card price guides, and they were thick, but they were so thick because they had every single card on the list.
Well, look,
They had every single card in the 1988 792 card. They had the price, 3 cents, 2 cents, like every single card. So that's why they were so thick. But I don't remember oddball cards like that. They were basically all Tops and Bowman, Leaf. But I don't remember any oddball.
There are all kind of obscure cards. Like this is a 1934 W574. And these, go onto eBay. Try to find one.
Well, see, I don't think I have any card where if I had to describe it as T4, W5, it's every card I have.
Yeah.
This is a Tops. This is a Bowman.
Like here's a Willard's Chocolate, Rogers Hornsby. Like go onto eBay, see if you can find one.
Do they still smell like chocolate?
I could go on at any time and find, 1052 mantles at any time. If you have the money, you could buy one of those every day of the week. You could buy, 100 of them through all the different auctions. But try to find some of these, like the Worldwide Gums.
Man.
Dizzy Dean there. Some of these cards
I need
are
to buy
rare.
some scuba gear and go in the Hudson River.
But then some of them are just scarce. Some of them are rare, and some of them are scarce. But the W575-1 set, those are real rare.
I like the Oxford Confectionery is a pretty nice.
Yeah,
that's kind
I
of
got
rare.
some of those here.
I'd like to get into the food issues too, but there's just so much of them. I like the Cons Wieners and the what's the one Dave was talking about? The root beer one.
Hires.
Oh,
Hires, yeah.
Here,
but
I got these. I
don't know enough about them.
Beside me.
Well, in the Hires, they come with a tab or without a tab. So
yeah, that's
without a tab.
That's the Willie Mays with the tab. Yeah.
And I kind of like it without the tab, to be honest with you.
I do too. But the ones with the tab, they're a lot harder to find.
Yeah.
My favorite, the regional.
I actually love the test issue, which, to be honest with you, it's harder to find the regular one with the tab than it is the test issue.
It is.
So that yellow one's the test issue?
Yeah, they had a series of them. There was a Johnny Antonelli. There was a Vern Law. I think a Bob Friend. They had a couple pirates on there, and they were test issues. Yeah, and they
That's
just looked like
crazy
this.
how
before
different it
they,
looks.
Yeah, but when we say test issues for Tops, it was like, you know how McDonald's, anytime they're going to come out with a new
Yeah.
piece of food item, they go
Yeah.
to Columbus, Ohio, and test it first to see how it
Yeah.
does. And a lot of the test issues for Tops, they were just regional releases to see how they sold. And
I
if they
gotcha.
sold well, I don't know how these were distributed, but they're scarce for sure. But you could find them. You could find them. So, but
Yeah.
like the Tops candy lids, that was a test issue where they were distributed, but regionally. The 1975 Tops minis, those were a regional test issue.
Yeah.
But they're certainly not hard to find.
Right.
See, that's the crazy thing too. Like when I was a kid and collecting in the 80s and early 90s, as mass produced as regular baseball cards were, they were still selling baseball, I don't know, regional or specialized cards like Kmart, Toys R Us, KB Toys. Like
Those were the good
everywhere you
old
went,
days.
They had a card.
Yeah,
Yeah,
whatever you
I mean,
bought.
Yeah, they were still made by Tops and stuff, but it's like even looks like even now when I thought, well, these are rare because they only have one little box of them and they have tons of these other ones, but you still find them so easily now. It's
Right.
like how many. It's amazing when you think about it. I know people call it the junk wax era. That's more of a modern term. I didn't call it that back then. I wasn't mad that they were making so many cards. I was like, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, I hate that term. It's like I don't know. People like to come up with negative kind of connotations on things, right?
That's the thing. I think my personal theory, whatever you want to call it, on the junk wax name is the people that got butthurt because they bought so much stuff that it wasn't worth anything. Well, you were
Yeah.
part of the problem because you spent your paycheck, your life savings on these cards because you had a hunch that it was going to be worth something.
Well, they bought them
Now
by
you
the
got to give it
cases.
a name.
Yeah, they
Right.
bought them by the cases and never opened them because they were going to be worth $1 million. They were going to put their kids through college when they
Right.
turned 18. And so
Yeah.
everybody you go onto Craigslist or whatever for years, and there would be whole garages just packed with every set unopened. They never,
Yep. Yep.
Hey, do you guys know what the first year Kellogg's issued baseball cards?
Yeah,
62?
there were
No,
in the 50s, weren't they?
51.
51. There's 51 Kellogg's.
Didn't
He's
they have
guessing.
the? I don't know. Maybe. What
Ray?
was it? I thought it
Ray,
was in
you
the
know?
50s, like Ray said.
Yeah, I'm here.
I said, do you know?
I thought there was a Kellogg's card. I'm not thinking of Post cereal. I know it's not Post. I thought there was a Kellogg's card in like 58.
Really? I
I
don't know
think.
of
I
a
could be
Kellogg's card in
wrong.
58.
I was thinking along the lines of the Kellogg's brand, not just the Kellogg's cereal.
Well, Kellogg's, I think it was Kellogg's had the Pep stamps. They came in
Yeah.
like strips of 4, but those aren't cards. They were stamps.
Okay.
But this is actually 1930 was the first time they issued cards. This is Christy Matthewson, of course, a little after his playing days.
Kind of looks like the
He was-
Wheaties cards.
I was just going to say that, Ray. It looks like a Wheaties box.
It looks similar. This is the only baseball player in the whole set. But you would talk about rare. Go look up the pops on these. I mean, there's only been like a couple of graded.
Bink Scott just said he had a 78 Eddie Murray Kellogg slabbed up.
Nice.
Eddie,
Sometimes slabbing your Kellogg's cards will crack them and ruin them, because
Yeah.
if you stored your Kellogg's cards, especially if in the old days you would store cards in lockers like this one,
Mhm.
Well,
That's
and
cool.
and the old
John.
Kellogg's would curl up, so you'd have a stack of them and they would all be bowed.
Oh yeah.
And if you flatten them too soon,
They'll
too
crack.
fast,
Yeah.
I've seen PSA 10s that have big cracks in them, which were obviously cracked after they were slabbed. So you have to be careful with that. Because
Well,
wouldn't that suck if you bought a 10 and then it cracked a week later?
How nerve wracking would that be if you're the grader and you get a stack of Kellogg's in? and you're like, I don't even want to slab these. You know,
Yeah, I
they're
mean,
10s, and
you
then
know,
they slab them and they crack them all.
but
There's-
these are the things that if you were a collector, you know about.
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
You can't
No.
flatten them out too quickly.
There's those old cards. I think it was called Upper Deck. I think it was Upper Deck. The signature cards that came in a baseball, but it was fake leather, and it would be
oh,
autographed.
sweet spot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sweet spot. But they
They're all
would fade
faded.
it because it was
Yeah.
fake leather, and the fake leather will eat up the ink, and eventually, after so many years, the autograph would disappear, completely disappear. But
Yeah.
if you had that slab and you got a 10, it's like when now you sell. It's like, how can you sell that when there's no autograph there anymore?
Well,
Right.
I have seen that over the years where it's a 10 and or a 9, and you can clearly see there's something wrong with the card.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
And
when
then if you're selling that, people think you're trying to scam them, but
Yeah,
it was
don't-
actually
don't-
slabbed that way.
man, a few years ago, I had Nate and Aaron Davis. I think Psyched on Baseball card. I had a bunch of YouTubers that came over to my house, and I said, man, I want to go to this card shop. I go, but every time I call, it's like it's an old man, and he only opens up whenever he feels good. So I called him up, and he said, yeah, I'm gonna be here for another hour. I said, let's go. I've never been to this card shop. I always see it. We went over there, and then the man started telling us his story, and he says, like, yeah, this is basically, he had a card shop that he's owned for like 40 years, 50 years, but he was already like, past his prime, and he's like, this is basically my storage. He's like, I pay $2,000 a month basically just to keep my cards here, and I open up whenever I have free time. But we went in there,
Wow.
he had those ones like my baseball card just bought one. You know those display cases where it rotates
Yeah.
the shelves?
Yeah.
And
was
but
the-
he's
yeah.
had that card. He's had that for so long, and everything is in the sun. All his
Oh.
PSA slabs, all the cards are faded.
Yeah.
I mean, faded, like the color
yeah.
was gone.
Yeah.
But he had a lot of
This-
stuff graded 9s and 10s. I was like, there's no way this is a 9 or a 10 anymore.
There's
Those
3
dirt
things you
displays.
never want around your cards: sun, water, and tape. And I'll tell you what, it really annoys me when people ship with tape, like real tape,
Yeah.
because it's pretty easy to damage something if you're not careful. And I get all these brand new top loaders with a piece of tape that won't come off, and you just have to throw the top loader away. It's like this is a brand new top loader. Like use some put it in a penny sleeve. You get a stack for a few cents. Either, or not a penny sleeve, a team bag, right? Either cover it with that or put a little painter's tape. But
Right.
why are you using Scotch tape? Like I get all these beautiful holders, they're brand new, and I have to throw them away. And then they wrap them up so tight that you have to be real careful when you're opening too, because if you catch it wrong, you're actually, when they package it up, it's nice and secure. They don't think that you have to open it. You ever get those
Right.
packages and it's like a puzzle to open?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the time.
It's like everything's so tight and wrapped around with this heavy tape, and you don't know where the actual card is, so you don't want to, get too aggressive trying to get it out of there. It's like it's great that this is so secure, but you have to consider somebody has to open this thing.
Yeah.
Well, look at like me. Almost every time I send out packages, I wrap it in that medical tape. I don't know
Yeah.
what exactly it's called, but
Cling.
it doesn't have any glue on it, but it sticks fine because it's wrinkled. And all you got to do
Yeah.
is just it peels off automatically. But I see so many people like, oh, I can't get this off, and then it gets scissors. Like, dude, it's non-stick. It just comes off. But people
It's the same
struggle
stuff
with
you
it.
get when you
I
give
think they're
blood.
just used to tape.
Yeah, what I like to use rubber bands. So I will I like to use the team bags over a top loader. That's safe because it stops the card from popping out. But like if you're in semi-rigids, Card Saver 1 or 2, when you put it between 2 pieces of cardboard and put some
Yeah.
rubber bands around it, it keeps everything nice and tight, but not too tight, and never any issues. It comes. You put one this way and one this way, and it'll come beautifully to you. And then whoever gets it just has to take the rubber bands off. You don't have to
I-
be digging at
remember-
tape and.
For packaging, like back in the days when you could buy an actual hobby box, or I don't know what you would call it back then, but like say a whole box of 88 Donruss, 87 Tops, I would buy them for like $5, the whole box, and I would send them to people. I would like so if I was sending somebody cards, I would buy those just for packaging. 87 Tops cards, 88 Donruss, 89 just for packaging, and I get the cards and put one of those baseball packs, on top and the bottom, and wrap them up. And everybody would always get them and open up. It's like, no, I'm not sending you those cards so you can open up. That's just for packaging, to protect the actual cards I'm sending you. You're making a 10-minute video, now showing 89 Donruss. Like, I didn't send you those 89 Donruss as a gift. It was just for packaging purposes.
Hey, have you guys ever bought from Burbank Sports Cards?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got a card that came in today.
I like the way they package with that blue around the cardboard. That's nice. Their cards just so easy to open.
They are.
Shout out to Burbank Sports Cards if anybody's watching.
Man, Burbank Sports Cards is like 20 minutes away from my work, and I've never been.
Oh, man.
I'll tell you what, they do
their
a good
warehouse
job.
is huge.
Yeah.
I've never been disappointed.
I've never been there, but they have videos on YouTube about their place, and dude, they're like right on top of it. Their structures, they're organized, and the warehouse in the back is just massive.
Yeah.
They had to buy a new building to make an actual card shop. Because before it was just a warehouse.
They have really good prices. And if you're like looking to put together, you're working on some set, you can, the individual cards are sometimes cheaper than the shipping. So if you're buying a lot, it's worth it. You just load up that cart and you can, complete your set or get a big chunk of them done, because they have, if it's unless it's rare or something, they have just about every card under the sun.
Right.
Yeah,
so a lot of times I
need to get my checklist together for some of my sets and go over there, make a video over
there.
there.
I did it with the 76 Tops football. I wanted to add some that I didn't have because I just love that set. I went on there, man. They had all these cards for $1 or $2 and throw them in the shopping cart, and then you only have to pay shipping once, and you get a big stack for a little bit of money.
I have been disappointed once with them with shipping. Back in the day, I was on vacation, and my wife took the kids to the pool, and I was flipping through on eBay on their Burbank site on eBay, and I bought like 40 Nomar Garciaparra and Mo Vaughn cards, and they shipped multiple ones in the thick penny sleeves together and no top loader. They put them in between cardboard and just threw them in the envelope. And that's never happened. I was like, what in the world? I just spent like $65, $70 on these cards.
Yeah, I've had people do that. I've had them send them loose. Like you buy from some antique dealer that doesn't know cards, and they'll put it in an envelope. And thank God I haven't had any issues. Like I can't believe they make them to me like that.
Yeah.
But some people just don't know. But I have to ask: is it Burbank Sports or the Batter's Box that has the blue?
I think you're thinking of Batter's Box.
It's Batter's Box. I like them both. I've had good luck with both, but I'm talking about Batter's Box. That's who I love their packaging.
I gotta address this question. Some guy, Adam Gorlick, he says, how do you unstick my 1999s? They're all clumped together. Is it really okay to put them in the microwave?
No, I've tested that. No.
Have you tested it?
The freezer works pretty good.
Put them in the freezer.
Wrap them in put them in a Ziploc and put them in the freezer.
Really?
All you could do is minimize the damage, but there is no method to get them 100%.
It's still gonna stick.
I've never tried this, but just what I would do, because they're going to be ruined anyway, right? Those bricks, when they turn into a brick, it peels off. I would actually use a little steam. I think I'd try that.
That could work, but the peeling, I would think, on the foil.
Together, you know what I mean? You get paper loss no matter what. I mean,
yeah. Well, I've
minimize
had
it.
some. No, I've had. I mean, you don't always get that, but
no.
But some of them,
it depends on how they were stored.
You have to dig to get them out. Like, you can damage them with your nail trying to get under there and get them apart.
I bought boxes of mid-90s cards that were stored perfectly fine in a card shop, and none of them stuck. And then I bought some from a garage sale, and the whole thing was stuck.
I mean, cards were meant to be cardboard. They weren't meant to be this shiny stuff that sticks together.
Yeah.
You don't have that problem with the old cardboard. You can put them in a box, put them away, and 300 years from now, they'll be in perfect condition when you go get them.
You know, one sad thing I had happen, I had my Joe Morgan rookie, you know, with the 45s. And I bought, it's a 3, SGC 3, but it's what I could afford at the time. And I liked the card. And it got mailed and it cracked the slab that it's in. And I was like, do I complain to the guy? Because all he did was like what you said. He threw it in the envelope and that's it. He sent it away.
Yeah.
And I was obviously looked like it.
Right?
Yeah, it got ran over by a FedEx truck. And yeah, the bottom of it's. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to roll with it. I don't care. It didn't damage the card. It's just the back of the slab.
My baseball card got ran over by a reindeer.
I got a 1954 Ted Williams, and it came and the slab, same thing. When I ordered it, it's not cracked, so it had a crack in it, and every time I looked at it, it bothered me. So one day I took the pliers and I cracked that sucker out of there, and I kept it raw. And I've done that with several cards because I just refuse to send all these cards back over and over for a reholder and shipping. And then the cost of these cards that you're sending in there, you got to pay, you want them insured. And so you got to pay for that.
And now you got to jump in a queue to be a member on PSA to be able to grade 5 cards. And
yeah.
It's a nightmare.
It's like if I can't sell the 54, whoever inherits my collection can't sell the 54 because it's not in the slab, then so be it. I really don't give a shit.
Honestly, John, I think that's a garbage card. You should just send it to me.
You know what's funny is, like, to me, I always plan on, like, when I get older, I'm just gonna sell my cards for cheap to like real collectors. I actually go to shows. And when I see someone that really wants a card and they can't afford it, that's
give it to them.
Assuming I'm financially stable. You know what I mean? I kind of just want to sell my cards for cheap just to make people happy and live off the smiles.
It's like Mr. Beast. You know that guy, Mr. Beast?
I heard of him. I never watched him.
He made his money through whatever money he made, he gave away. His very first video that he went viral, he gave all the money away that he made from YouTube, and he's been doing that ever since. That's kind of what jumped off his channel. And I thought the same thing, is I want to go to a show when I'm 60, 70, 80 years old, if I make it that far, and do the same type of thing.
See, but there was a I think it was around Christmas time, man. I ran out of my my asthma medicine, right? And the CVS was closed for Christmas, and man, I was really struggling with my breathing. I was telling my wife, I was like, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm really scared. Like, I feel like I might die, Yeah. So I told her, I showed her a couple of cards, and I showed her how to check for the prices on eBay. Right? And she was like, oh, this card is worth Dookie and Burke bag. Oh, I could buy this, right away. It's just like, oh my God, I could buy this with this.
Meanwhile, Caesar's there. I'm dying here.
I'll tell you what, you guys haven't seen my whole collection, but my family doesn't want my cards.
Neither's mine.
Here's the thing. I have 2 homes, and I have I have like 3 card rooms, garages, 2 garages filled, and many closets filled. Like, you guys don't even understand the depth of my, like, the numbers of cards that I have. Like, people are like, aren't you worried about your cards being stolen? I'm like, no, because it would take them 3 days to steal them.
Yeah, they'd open the door and they'd shut it right away.
There's no way they would know which ones are the good ones, because I keep those, tucked away. Because most of the things that I have up are doubles or unique items, but not necessarily worth the most.
Yeah, that was
they would never find them. I mean, how would you find them out of 100 boxes? How would you find the good stuff?
Yeah, that was the toughest part for me when I moved. Was moving, 100 binders, 1,000 baseball card boxes. That just took forever.
I dread having to move.
Same here.
Again. I dread having to move them again, and then you're paranoid the whole time you're on the road too. God forbid something, you get into somebody hits you and they go flying all down the highway or something.
I mean, that's all I think about now when I watch the news and you hear about a tornado or a hurricane. I was like,
Yeah.
how many collections just got destroyed right now?
You want to know something funny that I did? It's a little embarrassing, but a little funny. So when Irma came around, I was on duty for like 69 hours straight. And I I left work like I normally do on my shift. And I had to be worked the next day by 1:00 in the afternoon. Well, they canceled that and made it by 5. Well, I had no boards because that's when Irma took that hook and came straight towards Tampa. And I had no boards on my windows. I had nothing to secure my house. And I had my wife and my little 3-year-old at the time. And I went to Home Depot at 5 a.m. to look for plywood, was able to find some. I worked all day to put it up. I put all of my boxes, because I keep all my cards in Sterilite, those like plastic tubs. I put every single thing that I owned that was in a box or a frame or any kind of top load, anything in the back of my car. I left and went to work, and I parked my car inside the bay where the fire truck is for the entire storm. Because I was like, I don't want my wife to have to worry about this, and she ain't going to worry about it in the first place. So I had everything with me for the whole entire Irma.
I used to work up in Baltimore all through the week, right? In Maryland. And I would work there all week and come home for the weekends. And we had a hurricane. I think it was Matthew. And it when they showed the trajectory, it was coming right over both of my homes. It was coming up here and then continuing on, and it was going to hit both of them. And I told the people, I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm catching the next flight because I'm going to go sit in my card room if that thing hits. But it ended up being very minor. It didn't hit us.
Right.
I think it ended up hitting North Carolina.
John has a card house.
Yeah. They had to buy a whole nother house.
Yeah, my mom's like, you need to evacuate. I'm like, hell no, I'm not evacuating. I'm sitting right here and keeping an eye on my house.
Rick Oddball Cards just said that you said that you have all your cards and you have him in his will. Is that true?
Well, it's funny he just said that, because I was just about to say earlier, and I forgot to say it, is that I was leaving them all to him.
Nice. There you go, Rick. Rick, why don't you come on? Stop being shy.
When you get to be Rick's age, you start thinking about wills and stuff.
Yeah, I got a will. Nobody wants my cards.
Yeah, so Rick's out in California, and we have this group text going on, and some of us are on the East Coast, and I'll wake up at 6:00 in the morning and text, and somebody will be like, "Rick's not going to answer you." I'm like, "Yes, he is." Old people get up at like 4 a.m.
Yeah, they do. They make their coffee and get their paper.
And he does too. He does respond, don't you, Rick? I gotta bust his chops because he won't go live with me, man.
Come on, Rick.
We were talking earlier about regional food and beverage cards. There's a book out there that Dave told me about when I first met Dave a few years ago called Never Cheaper by the Dozen. I don't think it's in print anymore, so it might be only in Kindle. But if you want to learn about regional food and beverage cards,
what's it called?
Never Cheaper by the Dozen.
I'll have to look that up because that is something I'm interested in. But I just like you guys. I've done vintage, but I've done all cards my whole life. But that's one thing that I've never really jumped into.
All about regional food and beverage, like Red Heart. I mean, anything food and beverage.
Hey, how about you're from Philly? How about Seal Test? Man, is that a tough set?
The ice cream?
I'll show you a rare card.
Seal Test, was it ice cream?
Yeah, Seal Test was ice cream.
Well, I know there was a Seal Test ice cream. I wasn't sure if the cards were the ice cream.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought they were hot dog cards.
I have this Kotex Mickey Mantle.
I'm drawing a blank on
this. This is rare. Nobody has this one.
Oh my gosh.
It was distributed by Kotex, trying to get women involved in the hobby.
Oh my God.
Pepino. Oh my God. Your ink on there's bleeding a little.
So you got the Dandy. That's a great food and beverage set. These were potato chips.
Oh wow!
And then come on, I mean, how can you not love? Where is it?
Show some Ted Williams, Red Sox.
Oh man, where'd it go?
Wieners.
Oh, you know why? I got these all out of whack when I was filming for TV.
Oh
yeah. So tell us about that, John.
Wilson Franks.
There you go.
One, yeah.
And, you know, a lot of people don't know, I don't know if this is going to make the segment or not, so I'll show it, but a lot of people don't know that, you know, they think Stan Musial didn't have any cards in 55, but he did.
Ah,
He had a box of, it was a glove. It was a Stan Musial glove, and on the outside of the box, they had cards, cutout cards, and you could still find the box. I saw one not so
That's
long ago. They
awesome.
were asking like $5,500 for the whole box with the glove and everything. And
John,
then the
Jeez.
Drakes.
wow.
You guys
John, are you
know
the one that has the
Drakes.
Joe DiMaggio card that's from a shoebox company or shoe company?
Yeah, he does. Aren't you the one that needed help where it was from? You had the one kind, but you couldn't tell where the other one was from.
It even has the hole in it, John, in the card because that's where they would put the string to attach it to the shoes.
No, that's not me.
What's the one I'm thinking of? Didn't you put a video out where you were like you needed help with this? Well, you had one card, the Rawlings. That was the Rawlings.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Did you ever figure out what the other one was?
No, I haven't. And it
I
doesn't.
searched
like
and searched online for that. I could not find anything.
Yeah, I search here and there, and I searched a lot, several times. And I unless it was cut, but it was cut smaller to begin with, because it doesn't match up. You're talking about the Rawlings premium photo, and then I have a photo that's the exact same thing, only it doesn't have the Rawlings at the bottom.
You think that could have been like
the border that it has, if you put it side by side, you would see some of the Rawlings.
Oh,
it's a different size.
Yeah.
So it can't just be. Somebody said it was that trimmed, but it can't be because it's not the same size.
Yeah. You think it could be like a store ad that they had like on a wall or something?
Well, here's the thing. If it was Rawlings, I suspect they would want their name on it.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
I'm thinking that it was somebody else that used the same image.
Little copyright.
Or maybe even a stadium giveaway or something.
That's because and that was a popular pose of his, a popular picture back then.
Yeah, well, it's real unique because it's inside, it's like the 33 DeLong. He's inside the stadium.
Yeah.
So it's real unique pose, but Rawlings could have just elongated it and put their name on the bottom, where their name is. So I still haven't figured it out.
That's crazy. Yeah, the minute you put that video out, I was like
Rawlings thinking that I had a trimmed one. And then when I matched them up, I'm like, no, this is totally a different one. It's even a different color, slightly different color paper. It's like the Rawlings one's brighter.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
The card, John, that I was talking about, it says it's a 1951 DiMaggio shoes hang tag.
Oh, okay.
And it's just him swinging a bat, and then it says Yankee Clipper in the bottom.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
It says Yankee Clipper?
The bottom of the card says the Yankee Clipper. I think he had a shoe line in 1951, and it has a hole in the top left-hand corner because that's where they would put the string in, so it would hang from the box or hang from the shoes.
So you got that when you bought a pair of shoes.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Hey, I have a Don Mattingly glove. What they have? They had that glove one. It's similar to that, but I think it was on a glove.
Yeah, I have a bunch of those too, like Ozzie Smith and Tony Gwynn.
Yeah.
Those are cool oddball things, something you don't have. I think I have Bo Jackson too on that.
We can't use the term oddball. In fact, I told Ricky he has to change his name. I hate that term. A card is a card.
He only has one.
Unique.
A card is a card. They're all unique. Some came in tobacco, some came in candy, some came in cookies, some came in cakes, some came in cereal boxes. I mean, some came with gum, some came with caramel.
Pizza Hut back in the day when they did the buffets when you could find them. I was probably 8, so this would have been like 88, 89. They did they had the card machines, like you buy, you put a quarter in, push it in and pull it out. You'd have a little 4 or 5 cards. I actually was at Pizza Hut and they had the soft bat that you could get a ball with. This might have been like 90. And the one that I wanted was yellow with a blue handle, had Griffey and Greg Maddox with the ball and the bat. It was like a Nerf style bat.
Oh, okay.
I threw my quarter in, pulled out the thing, and it bring it to the register, you get a bat. So I still have that in the same wrapper. I never opened it. I've had it since I was, I don't know, maybe 8, 10, 11 years old. So I still
cool.
have it in my closet.
Yeah, one of the last times I went to Pittsburgh, I went to Primanti Brothers, but not the main one. I went to one in Harmerville. And I walked into Primanti Brothers, and I was surprised because they had 2 vending machines, and it was loaded with like Pittsburgh Penguin cards and Pirate cards. Yeah. And I hadn't seen one of those in forever.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
You can't do that today because, oh my God, you wouldn't get a 10 and be able to sell it for $242,000 at Cunha rookie.
Yeah.
Tatis Jr. rookie.
You were talking earlier.
Tatis sold for $242,000. The guy leads the league in errors and has yet to finish a season. And he leads the league in errors every year.
And he's hurt again.
Yeah, you paid $242. Unbelievable.
A question regarding that: Do most baseball have that in their contracts, like not to do dangerous things? Because I know in football they do.
The bigger names will.
Yeah, and
you can't go on a jet ski.
Or was his contract signed when he was a rookie and doesn't have a big contract yet?
I don't know.
Well, I remember when Big Ben came up after his rookie season and he did real well and he was our starter. The dumbass goes out on a motorcycle and some woman hits him.
Crashes his bike.
And we were like, we finally get a quarterback, and he goes over the handles on a motorcycle in the off season.
Did he break his leg?
Yeah, a lot of football players, they have it in their contracts. You know, you can't ride a jet ski, you can't ride a motorcycle, you can't go
skydiving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about Vince Papale in that movie? Vince Papale in that movie.
Yeah, that's a good movie.
He was playing in the mud with his buddies, and he had a game on Sunday. I mean, that's just reckless.
Well, there was that football player a couple years ago that blew up his hand with firecrackers, right?
The
Giants player.
No, he's back on the Bucks now.
What was his name?
Jason Pierre-Paul.
Pierre-Paul, yeah.
Yeah, he's back on the Bucks now. Go Bucks.
It's amazing how well he played after that. Like he's one of the best. He turned it into a club.
He did. Yeah.
There was another player back in the day that had that. It was like a club. Do you guys know who I'm talking about? Oh man, who was that?
Well, they all taped their hands.
Was it Reggie? Was it the Minister of Defense?
Reggie White?
Reggie White.
Was it him? Yeah, for the Eagles.
Didn't he break his arm one day? He had that.
He broke his wrist and then he taped it into a club.
Yeah, and he already had that move where he would bring that arm over.
Could you imagine getting hit by that dude?
Oh man, it looked like he was assaulting somebody on every play.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Those are the good old days when they didn't call the roughing on every call, on every play, or pass interference or defensive holding. That's all you get these days.
That's just one of the things in all sports. In all sports, they've got lightened up. Like in baseball. Pitchers were known to throw at people. If you hit a home, and you knew as a player, he's going to throw at me right now. Yep. There wasn't warnings, or people weren't getting kicked out. It was part of the game. Basketball, I think it was the Hack-a-Shack, right? That finally made that rule. Now you can't,
Shack attack. Yeah.
Every time in basketball, when I was a kid, you go up to do a layup, and everybody's swapping at you and fouling you.
Yep.
Now you can't do that. Same thing with quarterbacks. You can't touch them.
It's a lot softer now. It's still they still hit.
You want to go on
but
camera?
It's a lot softer.
My dad's meowing to get in. Hey, ask Ray Fosse what he thinks about the new rules running into home plate. He's probably in favor.
Mexico shot his wiener off.
When Pete Rose broke his collarbone.
Yeah. Now, see, that is one thing that should be addressed. Like, you can't just go full bore at a catcher and expect somebody not to get hurt. Like, there's got to be, of all people to protect, it's got to be that type of collision because that could kill somebody.
Well, I mean,
there was an all-star game too.
Yeah,
there were
a useless game.
But there was 100 years of people doing that, and nobody ever.
Oh, absolutely,
nobody ever got killed.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, football used to have bounties. If they would pay you extra if you took out the quarterback.
In high school, I threw at people because of certain coaches that I had that just didn't like players on the other teams. And I did it because I was stupid.
Yeah.
It was common.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and now players have these big old like elbow pads, or like they're not even afraid to get hit. It doesn't
No.
even hurt them.
No.
It's
Well,
amazing.
you know,
You
it's like
see the ball 100 miles an hour off their elbow, just walk first base like nothing.
Yep.
that was part of the game though, because like you take a guy like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, those guys never ever got pressure, right? They just could stand back there and throw.
Right.
As soon
Yeah.
as they did get pressure,
They fumbled.
They were very average quarterback when
Yeah.
it was very rare. Almost
Yeah.
nobody put pressure, but when you were able to get pressure on them, that's how the Steelers would beat them. That was the only way.
You know,
And
you
look
could
at
see it.
Mahomes in the Super Bowl. When he was under
Yeah.
pressure, they got killed.
Yeah.
So that's the equivalent in baseball of when Bob Gibson's up there and you're the best hitter around. Well, let me
Yeah.
tell you something. You ain't the best hitter when you cannot get in there and feel comfortable that you know that Bob Gibson might be coming at your head, right?
Well,
Right.
Absolutely.
and it makes you a much lesser hitter.
Tom Brady was asked if there's a difference in football now and 10 years ago. He's oh yeah, it's definitely easier. He's when I first came into a league, I could be the best quarterback and we could play a team that's not that good, but if they're tough, they can beat you or make it a good game because they rough you up, they beat you up.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
right.
He's now they can't do that. So now you have to beat me with skills. You can't beat me by being a tough guy.
Right.
I think
Yeah,
you could see it
But
with
that
Tom
was
Brady.
part of the
The
fun of football.
yeah,
I
with
mean, growing
Brady,
up in
you
Pittsburgh,
mentioned
that
Brady
was the
about
fun of it.
about having pressure on Brady. I think you could see it in the Super Bowl with the Falcons. I think it was where they just. But of course, he did what Tom does, and he came back. But they just pressured the crap out of him. That's how they got up so much.
The first 3 quarters,
You could physically see it.
he had like 60, 70 yards passing after 3 quarters,
Right.
because the Falcons were pressuring him nonstop.
And then they gassed out. Yeah, they
And then in the
thought,
fourth quarter, they had such a big lead. They went to a prevent defense.
Yep,
And
they
if you're
pulled
going to
up.
go into a prevent against Brady, he's just going to pick you
You
apart.
can't.
But let me
He's
tell
going
you
to take
something.
10 yards, 10 yards, 10 yards.
Let me
Yeah.
tell you something about that game because it really it angered me. They had 2 chances to win that game, even though they went into the prevent, and they were in field goal range. They kicked that first field goal. That game is out of touch. And what does he do? What's he do? He takes a sack.
Yep.
A 12-yard a sack, and
Yep.
they get out of field goal range. They have to punt. Brady scores. The next drive, same crap. They're in field goal range, and what's he do? He either threw an interception or fumbled it.
Right.
That's bad coach.
Again,
Bad
if they
play
kick
calling.
either one of those 2 field goals, that game is out of reach.
Yeah, the
Easily.
defense lost that game,
Yeah, for sure.
and that's
I
on the
just thought that
defensive
was I
coordinator.
thought that was the worst coached Super Bowl I've ever watched.
It was
Because
hard to watch.
they literally had it won twice.
Yep.
And couldn't do it.
Yep.
And like gave it away.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
are we-
When you're
are we
playing
saying
Tom Brady and you have that kind of lead and you can add another 3 points, just add the 3 points.
So are we saying he's not the GOAT?
You can't
No.
say that now.
No, he's the GOAT.
Yeah, you
He's-
can't say that.
Statistical goal. Yeah.
And he's
I
coming
mean,
back now.
Well, let's put it this way. Like, he's the modern day GOAT.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because it's a totally different game.
Right.
Majorly.
I mean, those old players, they got, man, some of those old quarterbacks, like what Johnny Unitas was doing when he was doing it, nobody like did that before.
You can't even. It's apples to oranges.
It's
because
apples to oranges.
There's so much
yes.
different. The helmets, the pads, everything's
Yes.
smaller back then. Now we got pads. There's guys that have thin pads, but for the most part,
I
you got
just
these
looked at
dudes
him.
that are yoked that
I
have
just,
these pads back here that hit so hard.
Well, don't
just
forget
looked
this
at
is
him.
after the Mel Blount rule too.
Yeah.
So wide receivers can run wide open down the field. You know,
Yep.
in Terry Bradshaw's day and Johnny U's day, they couldn't do that.
No,
No,
if you had that
couldn't run
now,
wide open.
That's what I'm
In
saying.
fact, as soon as they changed that rule, guess what happened? Jerry Rice happened. You
Yep.
couldn't put up that kind of yardage ever.
You-
Not even close in
know-
the old
you
days.
know what-
Because
you know what I
you
used-
could get beat up the whole way down the field.
What
Yep.
what I used to like as a kid is say like when a running back or a receiver gets a short pass, and then the opposing team would just drag them back and lose yards.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Now is wherever you catch it and they touch it. Okay, that's where the ball's at now.
Forward momentum, yeah.
Well, you should. I don't know if you saw my video that I posted where I showed Donnie Shell breaking Earl Campbell's ribs. You know, held him to like 6 yards in this playoff game, and he broke his ribs, and he would get penalized for that today, even though it was a totally clean hit, just because somebody got hurt.
Yep.
You know, it's like these quarterbacks in fast motion. It may look like somebody led with their helmet or hit him in the head, but then when they do the replay, he didn't. It just looked that way live.
Yeah.
And they still get, you know, it's 3rd and 32, and these guys are getting first downs.
Well,
Like,
that's
it's
the
just
thing now.
asinine.
That's because
You
it's
know,
not
like-
the NFL anymore. It's
If it's
the
3rd and
AFL.
32, you
It-
shouldn't get a free first down no matter what happens. I should be
Yeah.
able to shoot you, and you don't get a free first down. Like, that's
Right.
just ridiculous.
That's why I
Like a
don't
Boy Scout.
That's why I consider I still have Montana. You know, when you have guys like Bradshaw, who won 4, Montana, who won 4, and a totally different, in my opinion, 10 times tougher game
Yeah.
to play in, to win 4
Oh,
Super
yeah.
Bowls in that era. I give more credit to that than a guy that, like we said in the beginning of the conversation, that's getting no pressure, has got 30 minutes to throw the ball. I mean,
It's
yeah,
not, it's
Come
not
on.
just
Yeah, but
that.
Ray, you hit on something. Oh, go ahead.
It's like Tom, like during the Super Bowl and stuff. Like if Tom Brady sees a guy coming right at him, and he knows he could throw the ball before he gets to him, he feels totally comfortable throwing him, and the guy has to like
You can't touch him.
do the
can't
best he
touch
can
him.
to not touch him. And if the
That's
guy
right.
just touches him, barely like taps him, he gets
15 yards.
You know,
Yep.
might
yeah.
as well
But
put a red shirt on
hey,
him. I
Ray,
mean,
hey, Ray, to your point, I mean, think about this. In the 70s, you had Roger Staubach and the Cowboys. You had
Bradshaw.
Miami and their undefeated season. You had the Purple People Eaters.
Purple people eater, yeah.
Tarkenton.
With the Vikings. And you had the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like nowadays, it's like 90% of the teams suck, right?
Yeah.
And you have it boils down to a couple teams, and usually one team's head and shoulders above everybody else these days. Where back then there were a lot of good teams.
Yeah.
And I forgot the Raiders. The Raiders had a phenomenal team. And there was more parity. You know, that's what they would always say about Tiger Woods versus Jack Nicklaus. Jack Nicklaus played against Gary Player. He played against Arnold Palmer. He played against Johnny Miller. Like all these great golfers.
Played against everybody.
Where during Tiger's term, although most gifted golfer that ever lived, I'm not going to argue he's not the greatest that ever lived, but he did not play like the competition he had. He didn't have that one guy like Arnold Palmer on his and Gary Player.
Yeah, when he
didn't have that. He had Phil Mickelson, but honestly,
drunken John Daly.
But Phil Mickelson never won anything until after Tiger Woods, lost it after he fought with his wife. He was never really a contender. You know what I mean?
He's really, I mean, he's a moron that can play golf. Because, like, why would you do that? I guess he had a problem with, being an addict of that. But Tiger Woods.
Who? Well, because he's a billionaire and he never had a threesome. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, how could
I guess?
I mean, you could understand a billionaire wanting to have a threesome. He's like, I have everything in the world, but I never had a threesome.
Yeah, well, some things aren't meant to be.
AD says, AD says, put Dan Marino in today's system, and it wouldn't be fair.
It would be.
Oh, no.
God, Dan Marino would light it.
He'd
up
blow everybody away.
tomorrow.
I've always said when people ask me who's my favorite quarterback of all time, it's always been Dan Marino. 420 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Dan Marino was
record,
unstoppable.
420 touchdowns.
Pino, we need to talk. You got asthma and you're doing that.
It helps me out.
Dan Marino from the
Dan
time he
Marino
came
would
up,
have lit him up today.
Yeah, you couldn't even compare.
he was
had a
unstoppable.
team.
But Miami never had a defense. They never had a defense. They would
Or
give
a
up
running
42
game.
points a game. They were like Green Bay. Like Green Bay, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't score 42, he's going to lose the game.
Dude,
because they never hold anybody.
I missed those 80s NFL films. I mean, I used to watch those as a kid.
Yeah.
They were I remember watching a Dan Marino video where it was all about all the drop passes in one year. He's throwing like these perfect passes, and the guys are just dropping them. I was like, well,
Hitting him in the numbers.
Well,
Yeah.
he's
Caesar.
He's like the best quarterback, but his guys suck. You know?
Hey,
How's that his fault?
listen. When he came from Pittsburgh, he went to Pitt.
Yeah.
So all of us Steeler fans, Terry Bradshaw was getting ready to retire, and we all wanted them to draft Dan Marino.
Yep.
And they skipped him. And we were so mad. And the first time he came into Pittsburgh, I'll never forget it. He lit us up like there was no tomorrow. He threw all over our team.
Doesn't
And
that
he
suck?
was good from day one. He took his team to the Super Bowl his rookie season and lost to Montana because, like I said, they didn't have a defense.
You know who
Or
I
a
bet
running
would
game.
like to
But
be
he
a
never
quarterback?
went back.
Their best
Yeah,
running
they
back
never
was,
had a running game either.
their best running back was Bernie Parmalee, I think.
Yeah, they never had a running game ever. Bernie Parmalee, he was working at UPS the season before he started for them.
Yeah.
That's how
Who's the
That's how
other
they
one?
were going through running backs.
I watched a documentary on Duper.
Oh
He's
yeah,
He's a truck driver.
Mark Duper?
the
Yeah. Like sad story, man. There's I think a 30 for 30 or a 30-30 short or something like that on him. It's sad.
yeah, a lot of those guys, but the Mark brothers, man,
Yeah.
Mark Clayton and
Mark
Duper.
Duper.
Oh, they were fun to watch with Dan. I don't know if they would have been good on any other team, but
Probably not.
The three of them together were unstoppable.
You know who I think would like to be a quarterback nowadays because they don't get hit like they used to is probably Troy Aikman. I swear
Any
there's
of those
sometimes
guys back then.
sometimes you look at Troy Aikman and he doesn't even know where he is sometimes. That's just how it
he
looks
got
to me.
rocked.
He had more
got
concussions than any quarterback back
Yeah.
then.
Yeah, he got
I'll tell you
rocked.
what, he's an underrated quarterback
He
because
is.
even though that team was loaded, that guy was so accurate. Like he never looked like he was doing much.
No.
But he would just
And he had
move
the
the team
pressure.
right down the field.
Talk about the pressure too of being America's team. Even that bobblehead looks like he got hit. Look at the eyes.
Okay, you brought up America's team. I gotta tell
America's
you
team.
something.
The
Cowboys,
yeah,
baby!
America's team.
No,
I
I gotta
choose
tell you
them.
Cowboys,
something.
baby!
You brought that up. I can't let it go. So
No, go
when
for it.
They were trying when the NFL was doing that. What was that guy's name? In the 70s, Pete Rozelle. Was that him?
Yeah.
The commissioner? Yeah.
Yeah.
So he went and he visited Art Rooney, and
Oh,
he
God.
said,
You know.
he said, we are coming up with this promotion, and we want the Pittsburgh Steelers to be America's team. And Art Rooney looked at him and he said, we are not America's team. We're Pittsburgh's team. And so
Yeah.
they went to Dallas.
You're
Right.
the butthole of America.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a gimmick that worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
They were secondhand.
Steelers, they were secondhand. Steelers turned them down.
Sloppy seconds. There you go.
I just got to set the record straight.
If you look at the numbers of quarterbacks back in the day when they would lead the league in passing yardage, it would be what, about 3,000 yards, 3,300 yards. And then if someone got 4,000 yards, it was like
It was ridiculous
Like when Dan Fouts got 4,000 yards in a season, it was
for
unbelievable.
the Rams, right?
Yeah, for the
Dan
Chargers.
Fouts.
Oh, the Chargers. Yeah,
was
Chargers.
amazing.
But
Chargers.
now you got guys that are in 15th place that'll have 4,000 yards in the league.
Yeah, if you don't get
Now will
4,000 yards now, you're
yeah.
you're
Now
useless.
it's like I'm seeing guys like Breeze and all them that when he was playing, they would throw. There's few now that'll throw over 5,000 yards and 40 plus touchdowns. Like it's nothing. It's arena football. It really.
What-
It's
Dude, you
arena
have-
football.
same
you
thing
have
goes for wide
absolute
receivers, too.
scrubs. You have
Yeah.
absolute scrubs throwing over 300 every game.
yeah. I mean, you
Hey,
got
hey,
Ryan
by the way-
Fitzpatrick that came into the
Modern
Bucs.
Modern people call them video game numbers.
Yeah.
That's what
they
they're
are.
putting up now.
Well,
They are.
Americans just want to see 3-point shots and touchdown every other play and home runs.
Get on, Fernando.
And they want to see, 11 to 12 hockey games. So it's like those aren't the way the games were meant to be played, but I guess Americans just have such a short attention span anymore.
They don't like the 5 yards in a cloud of dust like we watched. Like with running.
Right.
I like to see a
But that
balanced
was
game
real
of
football.
running
You're not
and
supposed
passing.
to score 42 points. That's
Yeah,
not football.
Today it's 90% passing today, and
Who was the first 4,000 yard passer?
The first 4,000 yard passer?
I think it was Unitas.
Youngblood? No, not Youngblood. I'm thinking.
I don't even know.
Who's the? Oh God, I'm drawing a blank.
It's
might
either
have been
Unitas
Dan
or
Fouts.
Tarkenton. It could have been Joe
Tarkenton's
Namath.
the one I was thinking
Joe
of.
Namath. I think it was Joe Namath.
No way.
Yeah, I think
He
it was
didn't play
Joe
him
Namath.
enough years, did he?
early in his career, he threw for, because I remember when you said just Dan Fouts right now, I remember when Dan Fouts did it in the late 70s, they were constantly talking about only the second quarterback ever since Joe Namath to do it. So I remember it was like 79
really?
or 80, and
But
Fouts
Namath
did
was
it.
hurt so often. I don't
Yeah,
think
but he was
would have
he was
played
in
long
the
enough.
but he was in the AFL where they were
Yeah.
throwing the ball a lot.
Yeah.
Darryl LaMonica,
No
the
run
man
game.
bomber, they were just airing it out.
And where's Joe Namath from?
Western Pennsylvania.
Compton.
Yes, he is, along
I
with
thought
Joe
he was Compton.
Montana and Dan Marino.
Yeah.
And Mark Bulger and Gus Farrat. You remember him?
Oh yeah.
And
Gus Farrat,
Jim Kelly too. Jim Kelly's from there.
Gus
Jim Kelly's from Pitt.
Yep.
The Bills
Butler,
quarterback?
PA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's from right outside of Pittsburgh. And
He was one of the bigger TTMs I got back was Jim Kelly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So hey Ray, Dan Fouts in that offense. You remember how amazing with Kellen Winslow and Chuck Muncie, the running back. But what they call that? Air Coryell.
Air
That
Coryell.
offense. Yeah, he was the offensive coordinator, right?
Yeah.
Air Coryell.
But they still ran it too, even though he was throwing 4,000
Oh
yards.
yeah.
They had Chuck Muncie, and I think they even
Chuck
had
Muncie was a good runner.
Yeah. They even had I can't remember the
With
other
those glasses. He had those thick glasses.
But it was a balanced offense, you know. Like I used to like watching the Raiders back in the day and the Steelers. I was a big Steelers fan in the 70s. You know, with Harrison Blyer. I mean, it was balanced. It was just now it's just.
Did you?
It's funny how when you're a hardcore fan, because my uncle used to take me to Raiders games all the time, and so I used to think Jim Plunkett was like the greatest thing. You know what I mean? Just because he was the person I would watch in person.
I mean, first down, they're throwing the ball. It could be, 3rd and 1. And
throw
the ball.
Yeah.
3rd and 1, man. You can't get 1 yard on the ground.
What's up, guys?
What's
up, Boggs?
Who's your football team, Boggs?
Panthers.
Oh.
The Pitt Panthers.
I wish.
I feel your pain. I've been a Bucks fan a long, long time.
Aren't you from West
recently.
Virginia?
I'm sorry.
Aren't you from West Virginia?
No, WV's my initials.
Oh, I thought you were from West Virginia.
Honestly, I thought it was West Virginia too.
Because most people in West Virginia are Steelers
He
fans.
just did a video explaining his name, his last name.
I didn't see that one.
Oh, I didn't either.
What are you doing there, John? What?
This cat.
This is my stray cat I brought in.
I want to bring my cat. Oh, I got this cat.
There you go. I got a black and white tuxedo cat.
Oh gosh, that's a scary cat.
Go.
Pepino, that thing scares me.
Mine keeps getting in fights and coming home with gashes.
Really?
So we bought him a bodysuit, and we put him in the bodysuit, and he can barely walk. So it's like it'll protect him, and it'll cover up the
steel
cut.
curtain, man. That's why.
That's funny.
He's going out ready to maul everybody.
Well, there's a male cat in the area, and I never saw him like this. He's lived with me for like 7 years, but there's a new male cat in the area, and man, if that thing comes around, he tackles it. They roll all over the place, and I go chasing after them, and they both take off. And he's like protecting his territory, I guess.
Hey, Ray.
Yeah.
Ray, do you remember like my first videos when I would scare my cats with my bell? Like that was like
funny as hell. The cat's on the table and he would just
freak out.
And the cat's just boom, man. I started pissing myself on the floor.
Didn't one of them fall off the table?
Just took off.
Didn't one of them fall off the table trying to get going?
He was trying to get off the table, man.
That's the thing though, man. As soon as I put my camera down, my cats and my dogs, boom, they're gone. It's like I try to make that my thing because everybody said like, "Oh, that's hilarious! How your cats got scared. Do it again." I can never do it again. As soon as I turn my camera on or touch my bell, boom, they're gone.
Yeah.
They know better.
Yeah. They caught
All right, guys. I'm gonna have to call it a night here. I don't know how we ended up metamorphosing into football, but that was a good discussion.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks everybody for joining.
Thanks, Pepino, Ray,
All right,
Later
man.
on,
Thanks, guys.
Bogs.
For hosting.
Yeah, I'll be here longer next time.
All right.
Take
All
care,
right.
guys.
Okay.
See
Good
you guys.
night, everybody. Love the hobby.